the charity of his previous opponent, Arjun Erigaisi. Distinct blunder on the board that even allowed him to book his ticket semifinals. So we know Vincent is the kind of guy to capitalize if you give him too many chances.
Exactly. Careless decisions, like slight inaccuracies, the ones that drop you down from 99% accuracy to 98, those are fine. Those are acceptable. You can get away with one or two, but you've got to avoid the big blunders. And interesting that we see two players who will be fighting against each other.
I love it.
Chatting away in good spirits.
Yeah, that's awesome to watch. And the other two, Vincent and Fabi, were also at lunch together. So I think the players are just in good spirits. They're having a good time here. A lot of smiles, so much money on the line. When the games go on, you see a completely, different expression, demeanor by these guys. But off the board, they love the format. They love the beauty of it. And I think they love discussing it. Levon in high spirits. Huge matchup coming up.
Hard not to be in high spirits when you're surrounded by the natural beauty that we are here in South Africa. You can see the sun shining, gleaming through those windows just behind them. Players eagerly
I was about to say thanks,
awaiting.
James. That's very sweet of you.
The players eagerly awaiting the position that will be drawn for their next battle. Javokhir Sindarov as well joining the group here.
He's asking for advice.
Yeah,
perhaps. With black.
Well, let's pretend you're in that group. Oof. What are you saying to him?
Good luck.
Oh, poor guy.
Keep smiling and attack him. Keep timing the clock, attack.
Yeah.
Smile and attack, smile and attack. Meanwhile, Magnus Carlsen, he just has become that unstoppable force that we know him to be. After taking maybe an early punch, an early slip up early on in the tournament, he's begun to look infallible. As you can see, the players repositioning towards their chairs, the final players making their way into the playing hall. Competitive integrity measures being put in place.
Tanya, hair check. How is Magnus doing?
I'm telling you, this is what he needs to do every day. The one time he had the slick back look was in the round robin. The very first day, the shakiest of them all, went on to lose that first game. Ever since the crazy Magnus hair is back, he's just been Magnus Carlsen. He's been unstoppable.
So the real power move is for Sindarov to hand him a comb when they sit down at the board, right?
Some gel.
All right, we're missing one player by my count as Magnus Carlsen makes his way around. I don't see Hans Niemann. Semi-final bout here. Magnus Carlsen with the lead over Javokhir Sindarov, looking to book his ticket to the grand final. Levon Aronian and Vincent Keymer all tied up. We're over to Fiona Style-Anthony on the stage for the draw.
Welcome back to first game of the semifinals is in the book. We saw a draw between Vincent Keymer and Levon Aronian and a win for Magnus Carlsen against Javokhir Sindarov, who is now in a must-win situation to force a playoff. And in order to draw the next position, I'm delighted to be joined by Ella Carlsen. Ella, you've been to all the freestyle chess event. What sets this one apart for you?
We brought our son. And the place is beautiful, so I'm very happy.
Well, I'm happy you're having a good time, and you're going to be responsible, actually, for drawing the next position. So let's find out. Yeah, so it's going to be position number 413, 413. Thank you so much. You can give it, we're going to have to find that one back. Position 413. The players will get 10 minutes. Best of luck. And to the spectators, have fun.
Daniel hat das eben nicht geraten. What I'm hoping for is SRCC. Again with this C5. Yes, C5, F3 is AK. It is very similar. It doesn't feel too dangerous. No, C4 doesn't feel right. For white? For white, I think it's good. I mean, with the bishop on d1, which is very good. c4 if play f6.
Should I play should I say c5 or will you kill me?
So I don't mind before, just love to play this as well. Okay. Okay, you also need to find a way to do it. Okay, I want to play some interesting position, not too boring.
Yes, but so c4 f6, you should be happy with c4, right? The c4. Okay, what layer do you do? c6 and d5. Nice.
Why you play c6?
Okay,
Maybe we should do d5.
Okay, well, let's fair point.
Yes.
Fine for us. Yeah. Okay. I don't think c4 is critical in actors, so sorry.
No.
But before, it's very weird. Or d4, b5.
d4?
Okay.
But why not? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. What else?
No, that's better. So we could also see it somewhere.
f6 c6 or?
It's not stupid at all. But it should be worse than the other one. Kind of the same, right?
No, d5. Very solid.
Yeah.
I didn't see any problem. Just.
I don't see any major move for that, to be honest. It's quite
b4 c5.
E4 c5.
b4.
c4.
It doesn't win a piece or a pawn in nutrition.
Rubbish.
How about d4?
Looks so dangerous, no? c5?
c5, okay. I'll play with c3. f3, let's see. Why is this dangerous?
And you mean it's just the same position as we were discussing earlier, right?
Bishop 6. So you want to meet c3 with c4? I don't care about that. e4.
Takes.
The king. No, it takes. Takes. Okay, wait. Bishop 6. How if I hold the place? a4. It's called massaging. The massaging variation. It's okay, yeah.
I think so.
But this, okay. And if I go c3 immediately, he still goes for c4. d4 takes. c3. This is so strange. Bishop c4. Now we can crash. f6, yeah? Before takes and takes and d5. Yeah, it's okay.
Should be. And we take it.
Takes and d5, e5. But then bishop f7 and 6. Aren't you wasting too much time? Jumping around. Yeah. Don't believe it. And f3 is already there.
f6, d4, d5, or 45. So that's okay,
Yeah, I don't like giving this tempo.
okay, but let's just see this position.
But perhaps we can like b6 d4 to d4 d4 c6.
I don't know why. Black's point of view, the structure was good. Point of view also was good for black on the opposite side. No, both
Maybe it's-
positions have there's some bias.
I'm not
black.
sure about this. It could be dangerous, but I think we can. I mean, you are for sure happy, but it has some.
It also looks
danger.
Our moves are very easy, right?
Okay,
Bishop
I'll
c7.
just make this like this. But where does this knight from e8 go?
But you can also play
From the bishop on g1, where does it go?
Or f5 and knight f6. Black is probably better.
Yeah, curious. Like,
Okay, so d4 f6 is not dangerous. d4 It's actually not a bad position to play for.
It's F3. That's just.
Well, the question is maybe now we play like H5, Bishop H7.
Yeah, maybe.
Because H5, H4 is
E4.
Bishop.
E4. No, you cannot play Bishop H7.
Oh wait, take and C5 maybe. Or I don't know, there's some. Maybe Bishop H7 first.
Yeah, Bishop H7 first. Fine.
Very good. Bishop H7, E5, C5. CD.
Yep, should be good.
Your queen is gone.
No, what do you mean? C3 is next? It's not C3.
You're looking 3-5. The horse.
Not D6.
This what you do. Queen D5, C4. I don't know, C3.
Yeah.
Come on. Find something. So you're saying D4 is the move. D4 to 5?
If Javokhir Sindarov wants to keep his Grand Slam championship hopes alive, he'll have to do it with the black pieces on position 413. The players have had just about 8 minutes to talk about it, a few more minutes to discuss what they think will be the best way forward. As you can see, Levon being one of the more vocal parts of his analysis group, as always is expected, across the board here from Magnus Carlsen and Arjun Erigaisi.
And that's exactly what Vincent and Fabi reminded Sindarov of as they sat down to take a look at this position that they have, which, by the way, has so many similar concepts from the previous one that they just played in. And Sindarov and Fabi mentioning to Vincent that you have different requirements, you have different needs from the outcome you want. They wanted to go and have a more solid approach, David, while Sindarov was like, guys, I need to win. I need an imbalance here.
Yeah, Sindarov needs a win in order to keep things alive against Magnus Carlsen. Vincent Keymer, he, with a win, books his ticket to the grand final, but will still survive with a draw or better. Fabiano Caruana, in his matchup, has the advantage of a point, so a draw is all he needs to lock things up. So a bit of a different circumstance for all three of them to some degree. But yeah, it's really Sindarov who is vocal about, I need to make things a little bit messy. I'm looking for interesting positions, not necessarily stable positions.
Exactly. In his own words, not boring. That's the only thing he wants from the opening in this game. Interesting that he didn't take a leaf out of Magnus's yesterday and just take himself away from the group discussions and try to get into that killer mindset where he can try and imbalance things. We see the players taking their seats. 4 pieces on the same squares they started in the previous game. The whole of the right side of the board, or at least the king, bishop, and rook here, just as we saw them in position 44, as is the knight on c1. And Tanya, they were discussing very similar concepts to start the game.
For both sides, right? Where there was a central pawn moving forward. Like we saw in the last game, center space was a huge theme for white. So either the pawn in front of the knight or the bishop. And similarly, very interestingly for black, those 2 little moves, f6 and c6, to open up the bishop and the queen, as we saw in the previous game. I think we'll see these ideas come to play. Sindarov with the black pieces. Where will he find the imbalance? Must win for him.
As all of the players take their seats, and with 10 seconds to go till game start, it's do or die for the young Uzbek up against the world number 1, Magnus Carlsen, looking to book his ticket to the grand final here in South Africa. Away we go.
The gong sounds, the players begin. Where is Magnus Carlsen? That is the question. Forfeiting a few seconds. Nothing new, of course.
I think Javokhir is in no hurry to find out. He said, Magnus, take your time. Let the clocks run as much as you can. It gets low on the clock. Use every little bit. And you mentioned about something Magnus did yesterday in a must-win against Fabi, where he decided to take a break from the group discussion, go sit on his own. Not a path chosen by Sindarov, as Magnus does arrive with his little cup of tea, places it. He will make his first decision. And I think that story of that comeback thriller that we saw from Magnus yesterday really started at that point. It started even before the action on the board began. You could see the mind shift on the world number 1.
And in this moment, we'll zoom out, take stock of the field. Magnus Carlsen just about poised to make his first move, but as you can see, across the 3 other boards in play, 2 of our players with the white pieces have initiated gameplay, while Arjun Erigaisi will just now reach for that e-pawn and bring it forward.
And so far, 3 different moves on the boards where we have seen the white players make that decision. E4 from Erigaisi, it was D4 from Maghsoodloo, and C4 from Levon Aronian. Will Magnus complete the set? Will he play something other than those 3? Maybe F3 would be the other main candidate move, something the players with the white pieces, the team, were discussing. And C3, we have 4 different first moves on 4 different boards.
Unique moves across this one. Very, very intriguing.
So basically, no one agreed with anyone there. Oh, like, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Going their own path here.
Trust issues with the teammates.
You know, when you spend so much time with people, it eventually happens, David.
Yeah, perhaps trust issues, but again, also perhaps what we were just discussing, the fact that everybody is playing for a little bit of something different in this one.
Exactly. Maghsoodloo needs to win, so he goes his own way. And Magnus, happy with the draw, he goes his own way. And the other 2, they're unsure. Arjun and Levon, they would just like to get a proper fight, a real game. They decided to play maybe more normal-looking moves, I would say, E4 and C4. Interesting that Hans Niemann is the one who hasn't made his decision after being late a bit earlier to the opening discussions.
Almost by 9 minutes. The players are required to be in the playing hall about 20 minutes prior to the start. So Hans Niemann missed that. Magnus also decided not to sit amongst players. He was at the back watching Ella pull out a position there, which got straight thrown back into the mix. So 4-1-3, a reminder to the organizers, needs to be pulled out of that draw. The most interesting draw out of the opening here, I will say, is the Parham board so far. Bottom left of our screen, right there, we see an early Howell the H-pawn move up the board, H4. And this was the first time that I saw Parham not take part in the group discussions. He kind of decided to go his own way.
And you know what? When he needs something a little different, he needs his first victory here in South Africa. And I have to believe with a whole majority of the chess world behind him, hoping for some brilliance on display up against Fabiano Caruana, he's going to take a couple stabs at it here early on in the game. Wow. Not just the H-pawn, the A-pawn as well. We're going for the pincer attack.
Yeah, you push them forward and eventually hope that you can stab towards the center a bit later. Just a very quick action replay. He did start with the D4 pawn push, something that Magnus Carlsen might be transposing towards a bit later in his game. Fabi says, okay, symmetry, that's fine by me. I just need a draw. Parham brings out a knight. We see the C6 move, at least a diagonal opened up for the black queen, maybe the bishop as well, coming out. And this is where Parham says, I don't know what I'm going to do next. I'm going to wait for you to decide first. In the meantime, I'll gain space on the flanks. Big question, though, is where the white king is going to castle. He's pushed pawns on both sides, meaning that maybe the king isn't going to castle at all.
To me, this is not brave. It's a player on tilt, right? He's not taking that much time. He's pushed all his pawns forward. Very committal decision there, because that stuff you can't take back. You've let go of some squares. Your king potentially weak for the rest of the game. And Fabi's done everything very healthy. He hasn't taken any time. You know, he's played fast. He's simply continued to improve the position of his pieces.
And centralization for Fabi. He's improved his bishop onto a nice diagonal with its queen. The knight comes towards the center, just as white has done. Knights behind pawns is the motto, and Fabi's keeping flexible. He hasn't played f6 yet, a move we discussed earlier, to open up his bishop, because he might go the other way with his bishop, which might be a very nice diagonal down towards the white queen, staring at it. And yeah, it's very unclear why the pawns have been pushed. There's no big targets on either flank. It's not as if black has declared where his king is going either. So it very much seems like Parham has passed the kind of first move advantage that white normally has. Kind of to Fabi here, he said, I've played some kind of generic moves rather than concrete moves. And what is this? He's shuffling his queen. Very mysterious play here. I think he's just trying to confuse Fabiano at this point.
Yeah, bringing it on to a diagonal that I guess eventually it could threaten a king that remains on the right-hand side of the board.
You know, if you ask Levy, if you ask Gotham Chess, this position, freestyle chess, guess the elo of the player playing with white. I don't think Parham wants to hear the answer to that.
Early days, but it probably wouldn't be high. Like, the queen is literally nowhere to go if it comes out to this square, gets hit by a pawn. If it comes out one square short, then it's going, well, now it would just drop off. And Fabiano is already setting up some nasty traps. That knight is hard to remove. And that's the downside behind pushing your corner pawns here. Your H pawn, for example. White cannot push this pawn now, for example, just because of a check. A fork, game over. This is going to be a thorn in his side now for a long, long time.
Even Fabi doesn't understand what's going on. He just takes a look to the left, to the right, takes a sip, gets up and leaves. He's just done everything that's so natural for Black in this position. And I'd already say, from a human perspective, looks very good for Black.
It's a moment where I'd rather like for Fabiano to be diving into the confessional, just because I want to hear what he's thinking from the opposite side of the board when you see this coming your way.
Do it, Fabi.
We can hope. He hasn't been in there so far, unless I recall wrongly. Fabiano is one of the few.
Not to my recollection either.
And it's understandable. I think in round robin, it's impossible to expect the players to do that. And then he had Magnus in the next round.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Use all your time when you're up against
Stay on
Magnus
the board.
Carlsen.
And do your thing. You know, he almost did his thing yesterday. So maybe today, now, is the moment that he'll find that space to take a pause. So Fabi looking good in this one. Should we move over to some of the other boats, James?
Yeah, let's go to our other lower bracket bout first before we jump up to the upper bracket. So checking in with Arjun Erigaisi and Hans Niemann. Not too many moves made here on this board, and that, if anything, is maybe the most surprising thing for me as we arrive between both of these players, known at times to weaponize their clock, move quick, and look to create early advantages.
Sometimes when a plus and a plus meet, it's a minus, and they kind of cancel each other out. And yeah, both players trying to get the energy going. Huge kind of recollections here, similarities between the previous game, where again it was the f6, c6, the 2 pawns we're highlighting here, opening up diagonals for the pieces, and maybe the big X that we were talking about. Very likely that white at some point pushes a pawn forward. Very likely that black challenges the center. And I think the players are just weighing up when to go for those types of moves. For now, though, it looks like decision time for Hans Niemann, whether he needs to, for example, move his bishop out and castle his king.
This diagonal currently occupied by one pawn or the rook, so half of that X has been achieved, and a lot of patterns emerging from the first one. I think white will do exactly as you mentioned, an idea for Hans, push that f pawn, get the bishop out of the way, get your king to safety, and then you're basically looking at a standard chess position, and it all explodes, it all opens up once you have a trade in the center of the board, once that hits.
Yeah, the only other expectation I might have would be one of those knights jumping forward. No, he's going to go for the bishop instead. I was thinking maybe knight to e7, supporting that very same pawn push, just another way to develop and grab control of the center. Sorry.
No, James, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I was just wondering, you know, Arjun, the kind of player he is, what he wants out of the openings, how could he try to make this, well, not the same as what we saw in game one? And one idea that does strike to me is to maybe try to trade off that light squared bishop, which has just moved forward, so that potentially there could be some weaknesses you could target. Is bishop b3 an idea that, David, you might have on your radar playing this position? If you take, I'm super happy because I'd recap towards the center of the my rook file opens up. I'm a happy camper with that, and if you don't, maybe I'm getting rid of a key piece in your position.
Yeah, I like it, and I like the fact that you're suggesting it now, Tanya, after the black bishop is moved. So if there is a trade, then black had to lose a tempo in the process. He's moved it once, then might have to just trade off and move it again. So definitely on the radar. I think over the next few moves, it's going to be something that Arjun considers. Why not? It develops, and it probably trades off one of the best pieces of the opponent. So whether it's now, whether it's in 3 moves' time, definitely on the radar.
I like it as well, but perhaps you can explain to me what's then stopping, let's say, black from just evading that trade and pulling my bishop one more square out into the right. Onto that g6 square. Now I'm along diagonal that eventually hits that queen. The engine doesn't love it.
I mean, it's pros and cons. It gains time, keeps pieces on the board. So those are the plus sides. I think the is that it's difficult for black to castle on this flank now, as the square that black end up on would be covered. But definitely an idea, and definitely something that might be considered. Arjun doesn't go for it yet. Not yet, but maybe next move. He pushes his pawn forward, unleashing the other bishop. and Hans castles.
Right, the castle comes through here. I have a feeling that question mark was, okay, it disappears because that was with the assumption that only the king moved.
Yes.
And it wasn't actually a castle.
The board just catching up.
Yep.
And no, a very healthy move, the most natural move from Hans Niemann, can't be wrong. Neither side have made a big commitment, neither side has made a big mistake. So I think very balanced for now.
So early days here, up to our upper bracket. Levon Aronian, Vincent Keymer. Let's take a look at this one. Both half a point apiece. So for either of them, a decisive victory in this game does mean a one-way ticket to the grand finals.
Huge stakes, huge game. And both of them, of course, have got experience winning these Grand Slams. They know how to get it done, but this position looking very tense. Tanya, it reminds me of some pawn structures from traditional chess, something English Open, but also reminds me a bit of Swiss cheese with all the holes in it.
Feels like the upside version of the stone wall right now. The Swiss cheese that you're pointing out here, the light squares left behind by the pawns that have moved forward on those dark squares. A really committal decision by Vincent Keymer, and not something that we see so often by him. You know, we talk about how well he understands this position, but he's left behind some long-term weaknesses in that. You know, you're pointing out a direct path for the pieces to land there, David. The d6 pawn, a potential backward weakness long-term. Vincent yet to make a single move by one of his pieces. What is that bishop on d8 doing? One more move. If Vincent plays b6, he'd have all his pawns. He plays get b6 in, get h6 in, and I don't know who's clapping for who in that position.
I'll just put those moves on the board, Tanya. Your wish is my command, and he's playing checkers, not chess.
It's the wrong sport.
Yeah, and this would not end well for many reasons, including the fact that the rook in the corner would be trapped. But
Your own dark squared bishop is never going to play the game.
exactly, it needs to breathe those pieces. And for now, whoa,
What?
Whoa, Levon sacrificed a pawn.
It's the Lev Gambit.
If I had given you 10 minutes to guess what movie it was going to make, would you have ever guessed that one?
No, and especially if we just do a quick action replay, especially because of one specific reason. We saw a pawn push, f6, logical, attacking a pawn. He defended it. C pawn, f pawn moves. This is the key. He's moved it one square already. And then 2 moves later, what happens next? He plays it again. f3. 2 moves later, f4. That's a loss of tempo.
I love it.
Wow. Some time.
But you know, there are some themes of traditional chess openings at play here. Very often, white does employ these ideas of a pawn sacrifice to simply gain time bringing out the pieces. David, if the bait was accepted, I think what Lev's looking at is then continuing with development, bringing the knight out, hitting that pawn, and telling Vincent that, Vincent, you've made 5 pawn moves. Are you willing to make a 5th one on the dark square to actually defend that pawn, the only way to do it, and look at the weaknesses around the black king? I think f4 poses some serious questions to Vincent Keymer, and he knows it. Super dangerous to accept it.
And just to show, if black keeps trying to be greedy and maintain that pawn advantage, I mean, firstly, white has 3 pieces out in the open, but secondly, white is about to castle in 1 move. And for example, something like this, suddenly the king is just staring down the barrel of a very strong gun here. And this is just, I mean, ugly. I think beyond, you just can't consider this at all. Vincent Keymer is not a greedy player, and therefore he doesn't take the pawn. He barely paused for thought. He brought his knight out.
But the genius of it, you know, the fact that what you mentioned, 1 move ago, f3, next move, f4, seizing that opportunity, realizing that your opponent has only done a zigzag with his own pawns, and it's the moment you want to break it through, and Levon finds it, and he does it.
Creative. That's Levon. He plays unexpected moves. Even the top grandmasters struggle to predict and guess what Levon's about to do next. Of course, he has pushed this pawn forward. It looks likely that he will take in the center, just as I say that, he does. And he does force Vincent to take towards this direction and open up a file. The F file now is fully open. Kings stare at each other, but Levon says, I'm going to castle with check. Be careful.
How often do you see that, though, where the 2 kings are staring at each other on the F file, of all
Really
things?
never.
Completely naked and exposed, but yes, Levon would be the first to get the castling in, even if Vincent does decide to match him with the bishop move here on this next turn.
And that's tricky, because also notice how Lev has set up the queen and the bishop on the other side of the board. So while white can castle, the moment black gets that move on the board, the h pawn will be soft. Let's just show f7, short castle, and what you'd love to do if you're Vincent here is castle, play copycat chess, and claim that your development's over. But you can't do it, because suddenly bishop takes pawn from the other flank and game over.
I think instead, what? You have to block with your knight, maybe?
Yeah.
In that case? And then, are you considering a long castles? It's a long way away, but are you considering an eventual long castles?
Maybe moving this bishop out the way somewhere, and then you need the queen to get out of the way, and then to castle. Levon, in the meantime, would be hoping to maybe eliminate this knight, win a pawn in the process. Black might need to flick in this move sooner rather than later. Firstly, to keep that pawn protected, as Tanya showed, but to stop this threat. And yeah, maybe given 2 or 3 moves, the black king can run the other way, and Vincent will be smiling.
You know, this game, if the black king was to find itself there, we saw Levon go f3, f4. Why not see b3, b4 happen on the board to open up that flank as well?
Yeah. Boom. Explosion.
Yeah, Levon's not afraid of a fight. We know that much.
Meantime, some big questions. I don't know if Vincent foresaw this or whether he's just now kind of trusting himself to find a defense, but this is a Levon type of position, I would say, at least for now. With dynamism, the hint of the attack, the black king, clear target.
Rightfully so. We've put a lot of focus on the king's most important piece on the board. But just referencing again kind of the commitment of some of these pawns here from Vincent Keymer, that d-pawn is forever going to be a weakness, a backwards d-pawn that eventually Levon might look to expose.
And this is interesting. This pawn formation comes from other openings. It comes from especially English openings in traditional chess, and it's known as the Botvinnik pawn structure, named after a former world champion. And the whole idea is to stop pawn breaks. You don't allow the opponent to open the center. So although you're giving big kind of squares to your opponent, weaknesses, you hope to cover those with pieces. The pawns stop the opponent's pawns coming forward, and it's just to prolong the game as kind of far as possible. So I think strategically it makes a bit of sense, but you have to survive this stage of the game. That's the first order of business here.
You know, you don't get to see Vincent in trouble in the opening very often in this format. He might take his time, and he might be low on the clock, but he seems to find the best moves and kind of gets out of the opening stage without too much trouble. I think this is a different narrative, and I think he still needs to be a little precise, maybe even a little bit more than a little precise over the next few moves to get out of that, simply because of how committal his first 4 moves were.
So the accuracy gonna need to be there for Vincent Keymer up against feels like that's what Levon marquee matchup. We haven't Sindarov Magnus Carlsen.
Is can he survive that one move storm that happens right after the trade? Because I just realized the other thing, right? Here, if you try to defend it with your queen, getting it to d6, which was my initial thought. B7 is weak as well.
This one would hang, and White would have a huge advantage. And James, it looks like a huge decision, but here he needs to find the energy to start sacrificing.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's pretty wild that the top engine line invites the fork by that knight after the castles that we talked about just a little bit ago. So first, yes, following through with this bishop check line, we, invalidate Magnus's ability to castle going forward, but you let go of your rook in this case, and you bring your queen all the way out.
Yeah. And the problem is not reaching this position. The problem is evaluating this position from what you have right now. Javokhir, 15 minutes. The more he thinks, the more it feels this is where his head's at right now. But how often does it happen? You go down that path, but you can't convince yourself of it at the very last moment, and you make a panic move. What are the odds that he actually does it? And why is this still slightly better for Black?
Yeah, if you showed me this position, I would take White here every time. And then the eval bar says, Black is better. This is crazy. I think the compensation, rook for knight, you're down, but you have one pawn in return, so just a more disadvantage. You have the opponent's king out here in the open, can never castle. Bishop is a bit stuck. I think just very quick activity. The knight is coming out to the center, the bishop's coming out, and the black rook is sliding into the center. So difficult though for Javokhir. I mean, maybe he gets that process of elimination because there's nothing else. Anything else, he's just clearly worse. The knight fork is landing anyway, so he might be forced to find this, but it takes courage.
Guts, so much of it right now. And the thing is, if somebody puts this position up for Sindarov as a practice exercise and says find the best way forward for black, that's the line that you're looking at, and you sit and you calculate, you evaluate. But he's got none of that. I mean, you could just be thinking that's lost. You see knight d7, you see you're losing in exchange, and you stop even looking at it.
Right.
You know, you stop your calculation.
Now you're looking for your next best option.
I can guarantee that both players think that white has got a big advantage here. I think Javokhir might play that because he feels it's desperate. It's like a last resort. There's nothing else. It turns out that that's actually very decent for black, very healthy. But Magnus, in his mind, he's kind of cracked this opening. He's found the most beautiful line for white. He's winning material, and he's going to win the match. That's Magnus's mindset right now.
Yeah. You look at him, you almost feel it, that he thinks this is over.
He's like, yeah. He's relaxed already, Magnus. That would be such a cold shower if Javokhir now plays it. He needs to play it now, though, 13 minutes.
Because it's not the end of the game even if he plays it and finds it. He'll still have to be thinking way across, way over the moves. Look at Magnus. He's so chill and relaxed. He just feels that Sindarov has gone completely wrong in the opening. But that's not the case, Magnus. Javokhir needs to find bishop c4. He has to sacrifice that exchange. David, how bad is it if he takes a cautious approach? One human move that comes to my mind to stop that check is develop your knight to b6, not allowing any fork, not allowing a check on e6.
Put it on the board. This is not Javokhir's move yet. We'll see the evaluation bar rise a little bit at least. Magnus's most natural move would be to recapture the pawn that he sacrificed. And now any check would always be met by a bishop block, and white's queen can drop back to defend. And the problem is black's position is just full of holes. So here, it's basically the same thing, but yeah, you just do not get any compensation, do not get any attack for the weaknesses you've left behind. So I think he needs to find this.
Did you see that? The shake of Javokhir's head. It's not only Magnus who thinks Sindarov has gone wrong, but Sindarov thinks Sindarov has gone wrong. What are the chances that he actually goes for it, process of elimination? Does he find it?
I don't know. Now with this much time sunk, I feel like he's going to bail out into maybe the knight move that you talked about, which is still the third best move in the position and gives him fighting chances. But not what you want to see when a win is what you require.
I think it's maybe 25% chance at this point that he plays the move. And if he does, it's not with confidence, it's out of pure desperation. 11 minutes. This is borderline acceptable now.
He's getting ready though. He's getting ready to make his move. The thing is, even if it's played out of desperation, if you come to that last position, you suddenly realize if he gets to that end of sacrificing the exchange, that there's a lot to play for here. But do you have the courage to go for it?
He fails out for the knight move. It's hard to fault him for it. A tricky line to find. But it's not going to be his best option against Magnus Carlsen. And look how quickly the response comes out. Nearly instant. And right back goes the time pressure, the way of Javokhir Sindarov.
Oh, so many holes now in the black camp. The white bishop is coming out, something you mentioned in another game, Tanya. Trade off the defender of the light squares, and white's knight has full access into the opponent's camp. Now it's just pure suffering. I think it just needed to gamble no matter what. And yeah, at some point you've got to be practical. Whatever move you were going to play, you could have played it 10 minutes ago. And yeah, I think Magnus now is even more of a favorite than he already was. It's just unlucky for Javokhir that the key moment came on move 5 so early in the game.
You know, and that's the thing, right? If you have to play knight b6, you play it within the first 2 minutes of this move. Because that is... And then you're not complaining so much about it. It's not the best move in the position, but you keep the clock under control. He burned all his time looking at the check, and then eventually down to 10 minutes decided to go with the less desirable option. That's the problem.
Didn't find the ideal move. So now he's fighting a bit of an uphill battle for the remainder of this game. Magnus Carlsen with plenty of time and plenty of control on the board. We expect him to cruise the way he normally does to a victory, but there's still opportunities here for Javokhir. Not too many pieces have left the board. We've seen crazier things happen in freestyle chess.
Yeah, this is where Magnus will pause for a few minutes over his next few moves, decide where to put his pieces. I'm looking especially at the minor pieces still on the back rank, the knight and the... If Magnus finds good homes for those, we'll see him speed up and try to secure advantage with minimal risk.
So with the expectation that Magnus slows things down on his side just a little bit, let's check in with our other semi-final bout, where we will see shoes on the other foot when it comes to the sides of the board. Vincent Keymer here, yeah, exclamation point for his most recent move. You can see the eval bar has slipped a little bit in the opposite direction, and the player with the black pieces has a small advantage.
Someone dropped a bomb on this board. What happened?
Yeah, let's walk it back. Let's see when and where that bomb was dropped.
Now we'll go back to the last moment we were here. Vincent played this move h6, mainly to stop the white bishop coming forward. Levon gave a check, very natural move. Very rare to see a check castle with a check. The holy grail in chess is to castle and deliver mate at the same time. I've never managed to achieve that yet, but one day, knight f6 played to block.
Play me enough times, you'll get it.
The bishop drops back. Very interesting from Levon. He wants to kind of double down his attack on this knight, and this is where the big mistake, at least according to the computer, did arise. After the black bishop came forward, attacking white's pawn, Levon had the chance to just defend it. He could have brought his knight forward, for example, very healthy move, but he said, no, your king and its safety is more important than my central pawn. This is debatable though, because after the bishop came forward, judgment call, Vincent said, I'm going to take your pawn happily. And after a trade, rook check, turns out the black king is surprisingly safe with the knight around to defend it, no checks in the air. White's rook has to lose some time here, and I'm expecting him to drop back the whole way. I think the big problem, Tanya, is the two white knights. They just can't get into the game. They're still on their original squares, and Vincent now has the bishop pair, extra central pawn. If the rooks, queens, everything disappears, then black has a long-term advantage.
100%, and it's the unchallenged dark-squared bishop, right? The bishop pair that you're talking about. And such a strong bishop it is that I don't even know how desirable it is to win that exchange. Do you really want to give that up with your king in the open? Even if that's not the possibility you want to go for, it looks tempting, but you just keep it. You give a check, you improve your other bishop, you take the rook out, and suddenly you're seeing the white queen stuck in the corner, no good squares. The knights, they can get to d3, but where beyond that? Not a single square to actually get to once the rook goes to f8 as well. A free flow of development. And I see the bar seems to like bishop e3. I thought bishop c3 would be the best move there, David. Is there an immediate problem with that? Because that's the big question.
I mean, I would play this against anyone in the world other than Levon Aronian, maybe, because he's known to love his exchange sacrifices. There's no problem with this, Tanya. Black is better. Full stop.
This is crazy. I mean, starting from the opening that it did and to end up in this position, and that bishop is the sole dominator that you've got here. With black, it's the only piece that you really need right now. Landing itself on these dark squares cannot be traded for the rest of the game. You get that other bishop out, get the rook on f8, and you're a very happy Vincent Keymer.
And now with kind of this tricky position on the board, Vincent is building himself a bank of time over the likes of Levon Aronian, and that's typically what we'll point to in these longer time controls that Vincent needs, but will usually pilot to great success, right? A strong position in freestyle chess, and he's one of the guys who feels nearly unbeatable.
Yes. True, he really does. And right now, this is the kind of position he shines in. My question is, Why is Levon thinking so much? You've got two pieces attacked currently.
Yeah.
The rook and the knight. There's only one way to defend both of them. There can't be an alternative to rook f1, is there?
Technically, rook f3 is the next suggestion.
But you lose the knight.
Hey, you absolutely do.
Oh, there's a check though. No, there's no check.
Check.
There's no check.
This
Yeah.
can't be what he's got in his mind.
It's weird because you follow it with now knight d3
Wow. So even inviting the bishop, this rook in the corner,
again.
but now the check maybe.
Knight d3, bishop h4.
Oh, bishop.
Wait, it wanted bishop.
Bishop h4, just to keep the king safe.
Yep.
And this is just
Oh,
a piece.
interesting. All right, so it's deciding actually there's not enough value in snapping up that rook. It just wants to come back after picking up
Yeah.
the knight.
It's saying that the bishop's been a great attacker, now it needs to be a great defender. But this is insane. Nobody's sacrificing and giving up that knight for free on e1.
I have played Levon a few times though, and occasionally he goes a bit crazy. The last time I played him in classical long chess, he sacrificed a piece on around move 10, and it was, I think, 80% bluff. And it just, occasionally he has these moments where the artist in him takes over, and it feels like now he's looking for something a bit artistic, and it just doesn't exist, unfortunately. And you can kind of see in Levon, the energy isn't there. He was kind of stuck, frozen for a while. He knows that it is a bit of a bluff. He's going to be down material. It's going to be later that he needs to work that creative magic. But for now, he needs to just kind of lick his wounds and retreat.
Yeah, it's head and hands for Lev. And this is a decisive match. You know, the score is level. Anyone wins, takes it through, is through to the finals. And Vincent Keymer, he's feeling it. That Levon's in big trouble here.
Yeah, both of these guys have made their trips to respective grand finals in the past, and both have come away with the top honors. Our first Grand Slam victor and our most recent Grand Slam victor.
They don't know how to be in the final and not win the whole thing.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Very likely looking at a Magnus Carlsen matchup for either of them. Someone that had to go through in the finals, I will say, for their Grand Slams. Dispatch Magnus in Vegas.
Vincent got past him in the semis.
Exactly.
Weissenhaus. Okay, Levon needs to move now. It's the clock situation is one thing, but also if you know you're losing material, you have to act confident. At least pretend to your opponent that, okay, I'm going to get some compensation. I'm going to get something in return. You can see Vincent's eyes. He's like, wait, you chose to go into this. Why are you thinking?
Right.
You have to bluff somehow. You have to at least keep some time in the bank. You at least need to act like you're gonna get an attack, scare someone. But
This is akin to the differential we saw on the other semifinal board when it comes to time. And we saw how that worked out for Javokhir Sindarov in the last round.
I'm still expecting Levon to fall back with the rook, defend the knight, and not have a material deficit on move number 12 in this position. But the thing is, if he takes that decision, he needs to take it fast. And I will be very surprised if Vincent gets a shot change by going for that other rook. I think he's going to keep all the pressure, give a check if that line happens. Levon getting ready to make it. Make his decision. Will he go all out desperate, all out crazy in this and sacrifice material? Will we see that? Or will it just be a strategic domination by Vincent?
the more he thinks, the more tempted Levon might be to go really desperate here and to sacrifice the knight. But no, he finally decides, okay, safest move, also the best. And it is a bit of a crossroads for Vincent. I think most humans would be very tempted to just go grab this rook corner. Ultimately, if it comes down to an endgame, material advantage. But yeah, the bishop is so strong that he doesn't need to part with it yet.
And I think Vincent really realizes that his best shot against Levon is the long time format. So he wants to make most of the advantage that he has, even if it means playing for the strategic one rather than the material advantage. Giving up this dark squared bishop, you know, Vincent's not a greedy player. He's about to take his decision, and he does go for it. Do you think Levon's going to be slightly relieved with this?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's, you know, we've got the engine. So, of course, for us, we're a little relieved on behalf of Levon. But from a human perspective, I'm looking at just dropping a rook to a bishop. And that does not feel good, particularly when I spent that much time just to still come down in exchange.
he's only human, Vincent Keymer, and I think Levon was spending most of his time panicking because he might have missed the fact that his rook was trapped from afar when he went into this whole variation. So I'm pretty sure both players have spent the lion's share of their time thinking of this one move, and Levon's body language shows that he's not feeling confident. Yes, there were alternatives, but I don't blame Vincent at all for going for this.
Absolutely, and I think this was the second best move in the to get that exchange. My only concern for black here would be why I think that Vincent might have taken a little time is king safety. Once you do give up that bishop, it's not over. Yes, you have an advantage, you're up in exchange, but there are a lot of weaknesses. White still has the light squared bishop. Nice post on that d5 square. The knight's ready to jump in via d3, hopefully land on that e4 point as well. He's looking at another route. He g3, h5 check.
Checkmate.
Checkmate.
If the knight gets there, you have 3 moves though to defend as black. But yeah, it's an understandable move. Apparently not a good one. We saw the bar drop, we see the question mark appear, but can Vincent find the punishment? Probably it's just a bit too slow. And the 3 moves that it takes the white knight to activate, black will be trading off some pieces, getting rooks to the open files. It feels like Levon is just miscalculated here, unfortunately.
That's crazy. David, can you just pick that knight up and give that check? Because at first I thought it was just, you know what, black will find an escape route, there's got to be a square. But that king has no squares at all. This is game over if this happens.
Yeah, unfortunately for Levon, I think it's a pretty easy defense. You bring that light squared bishop up to the h file. Oh yeah, you could bring it in and defend that square immediately, or you could reroute it from the h file as well.
Yeah. Trades are good for black here, simply. And Levon, this is what he tends to do when he's in a bit of trouble, and when he knows it, he gets up. He stretches, flexes. I think this is where the psychology is he's trying to make it come into play. And this is where Vincent probably spends a chunk of time before trying to figure out when to take this rook, first of all. It's not running away, but the bishop will get hit soon by the knight en route towards that square we showed.
How do you typically approach a trapped piece like this? Because as you say, could go ahead and snap it up right now, but it's not going anywhere. Is it, how many times out of 100, what percentage of times are you waiting until the last possible moment to pick up a trapped piece?
I think normally you do want to wait quite a long time. It's hard to say out of 100, probably it's a majority. Okay. I would say not a guarantee. You want to snap it up before it runs away or before there's a block, before your opponent is able to whip up any counterplay. But normally you don't want to show your opponent's hand or give your opponent extra options. You kind of leave them tied up as long as possible.
Well, Magnus has given his opponent extra options in that game.
Oh, really?
It's crazy. On, and I think we need to go there right here, right now. It looked like Javokhir Sindarov in big trouble after the opening. Magnus got everything. He got the knight going, he got the queen going, but check in. With what has just happened. Javokhir Sindarov right now in a must-win against Magnus, playing with the black pieces. It's a nightmare for white currently. Huge threats, forking threats on the board. Big space advantage on the left side. 2 stunning knights at the center of the board. Javokhir Sindarov putting pressure.
This is turned around. Maybe just a quick action replay to show how we got here, because I think Magnus took his foot off the pedal a bit too soon. We left it 6 moves ago, and Magnus here playing a very natural move. But apparently a wrong one, trying to trade off the light squared bishops. That was just blocked very nicely from Javokhir, and he's getting excited. He just leaned back there, looking to the skies, and this is where the knight dances began. The knight hit the queen stepped back. White knight kicked back now, and not just that, but the bishop is kicked back. And yeah, this bishop, I think it just chose the wrong diagonal, chose the wrong avenue, and watch out, Magnus. He tried to do this to Javokhir earlier, so the shoe is on the other foot. Yeah. The royal fork.
It's quite interesting, a bit of symmetry to their first game, where on move 9, it was a small inaccuracy from Javokhir Sindarov that gave the opening to Magnus Carlsen. That queen move that we just saw get the question mark, move number 9.
Whoa.
So let's see, though, because we've said it in the past, Magnus Carlsen, he'll never give you more than one shot in a game. So let's consider that your shot. Javokhir, so far, you found the X-Clam. Can you keep pressing forward?
Again, the midfielders, right? You've got two knights there. You're pointing out one threat on the board with knight d to check. There's another one with the other knight. That A pawn doesn't need to stop there. A3 is coming in, attacking the base of that pawn chain that Magnus has. Once that gets destroyed, look at that C pawn. That's going to fall. Then the D pawn comes under pressure. This is looking incredibly tricky. For example, David, if you make a move like queen, stepping back to protect, to defend yourself from the forking idea that you mentioned, just push that pawn, blow open.
Check this out. The queen is actually almost trapped in this scenario. Maybe she is just trapped, just dropping off the board, because you can't come back. There's this fork. If you go all the way up to the edge, then the bishop catches you, and the queen is destined to be lost.
Oof.
So, Tanya, you're right. It's maybe this one was the one Magnus wanted to guard against, but the other one is the bigger issue long term.
We still do have to defend, though, against that knight fork. There's three ways to do it. Our rook can defend that square, our king can step out of the way, or the queen can drop back. Actually, four ways. The bishop can also slide up.
That's not obvious. It's rare to kind of move the bishop around like that so much, offer the bishop up for a knight trade. I think the move he wanted to play as well, the issue is that, as Tanya said, A3 lands, the knights are going to come forward, hit that rook in the process.
Yes.
That's the move he wants to play, but probably just doesn't appeal to him anymore.
I think that's the most natural move in this position, and it's one of the bad ones. Just like that queen fall back, getting the rook to the center of the game with that other knight jumping into play. Javokhir is sensing his chances right now.
Look at Magnus, his eyes widening. He knows that. I think he's panicking suddenly.
Oh, yeah.
Look at the head.
He's like, how did I get myself into this?
Wearing his emotions on his face in this one. You
Can't
can
believe
see a
it.
bit of that nervous energy coursing through Javokhir's body as he senses, perhaps I have a way back into this.
And he's only looking at his own first few rows, Magnus. He's like, wait, that's a weakness that I just can't cover. What have I done?
He's mad at himself right now. And the thing is, 4 moves into this game, Magnus Carlsen in driver's seat. He was the one who was pushing. Queens out, knights out, threatening a miniature. And it all
So
comes...
to 12-plus minute time advantage as well, as Sindarov had completely tanked.
It's
And now it's down within 4 minutes. I mean, this is, quite the recovery
You
from
say
Javokhir.
4 minutes? I think it's going to vanish pretty much out of thin air right now, all the way down. Magnus Carlsen in big trouble. Sindarov, it feels like it's mission impossible when you're playing Magnus in such a match situation.
But anyone who's watched those films, Mission Impossible, knows the mission is always accomplished come the end. He moves his king out of the way of the danger there of the fork, the check. So the knight move would just be replied to with a queen retreat. But how can Javokhir continue here? He's got the pressure. He's got the beautiful midfielders. The knight's controlling the middle of the board. But what next?
It's also a good move because now A3 kind of falls a little short. You can simply kick out the knight on C4 with B3, and knight takes pawn doesn't come with a threat on either of the two pieces. So not choosing the queen, not choosing the rook to defend that D2 square, king G1, that's a good resource.
Yeah. I think it was that one or the bishop move that Magnus needed to play just to at least deter black from any immediate action and delay any immediate losses. Javokhir, what next? If the pawn push doesn't work, then it's probably just about improving some pieces. Pieces that could be improved are maybe this bishop, get out the way for the black king to castle. Maybe the other bishop could consider trading off for its counterpart. Maybe the most natural move is to bring this bishop out. Firstly, to try and trap the white queen, but also to castle.
Magnus has many suits to chess, and one of them is just how quickly he resets and how quickly he adapts. Saw him on camera, it was like he was cursing himself. He's like, how did I get myself into this? This doesn't work, what do I do? You could see those seconds where, it was all over the screen. You didn't have to look at the board. You look at Magnus and things have gone wrong. But then he just immediately resets. He finds the best defensive resource very quickly, and he's right back at it. You need to punch this guy down, not once, not twice, but every move of the way to get the win.
Well, Magnus will have found the best response with the king G1, but Javokhir continues plotting the best course forward, following the top line, bringing that bishop out, threatening the trap that you mentioned there, David, and just improving one of his minor pieces.
Yeah, and Levon Aronian is threatening checkmate in one move on his board. I wonder if we do jump.
Yeah, let's go over there, but on our way, let's check back in with the heart rates and the accuracies just one more time. Take a stock of the entire field. as it flies up. Here comes the heart rates. Taking a look at that, maybe Javokhir Sindarov, highest heart rate alongside Levon Aronian, because they feel like perhaps they have ways to get this done here and now against their respective opponents. But how about the accuracies? How's everyone doing when it comes not as clean as the first round? You can see there, Keymer and Levon definitely locked in a bit of a messier battle. Makes me glad that's the game we're going to in just a moment's time to take a look at how that one's playing out.
Keymer lower than Levon Aronian now because he has just made a big mistake, and it feels like they're both trying to pull each other down into the mud. Levon's trying to create that deep, dark forest that Tanya referenced earlier. Quick action replay, just the last. We left it with Levon pushing the first way to start because delaying it by one move has allowed Levon. He now hits the black bishop, which is forced to capture the rook in the corner, and not a retake of that bishop now, not taking it back immediately, but the threat of the mate. If Levon is allowed to deliver, this would be the end of the road for the king. Beautiful kind of cut off. The king has no access to any safe square. This is incredible. I have rarely seen that pattern before, but how to stop it, Tanya, is the question now.
What are you talking about? This is exactly the pattern that we were showing when E3 happened. You were like, pick up that knight, David, put it on H5, and you showed us that that's not just a check, it's game over. Now, the worst way that could have happened, I think it's that move B5, that B pawn moving forward, that looks like, wait, what does that create as damage? The problem is that White also has the idea of planting his own bishop to the center of the board, David, hitting that rook, which is trapped in the corner, and this is self-inflicted. How does he stop the checkmate? Well, you said it, right? Bishop F7, a defensive resource we've been talking about for a while in this game. But I wonder if the problem is not just the king's safety, but also the rook at the other flank.
Well, but considering the threat that you just mentioned about that rook maybe getting tracked, I like bringing my queen over. E8, defending that same square, but also giving my rook a way out, maybe?
Makes a lot of sense.
That is very clever. I think that's the move he might end up playing for Keymer. And Levon at the moment will take back this bishop in the corner and say, yes, I'm down the exchange, I'm down a rook for knight, but the rest of my pieces still on the board have great attacking potential, and the black king now very open. Suddenly it's a Levon Aronian type of position.
Yeah. King safety. And that's what, right? You keep this bishop on the board, the dark squared bishop, which is about to be lost, and strategically, positionally, Vincent would have been so much in control. I think Levon now senses that he's definitely got counter offense for the material he's about to lose. I like the idea of the queen transfer, James, here, simply because that rook on E8 does need more breathing space. Whoa. Something toppled over in the playing hall. Glasses are breaking.
That's the nerves.
Cups are
You can
breaking.
tell nerves are permeating throughout the playing hall there. Players fumbling with glasses. I know, I might have convinced you of my queen move. Funnily enough, the engine still wants to go with your bishop move over my queen move. Both solid moves in the position, but the bishop preferred, funnily enough.
Yeah.
That makes zero sense.
Interesting. I guess black does have one move later to try and save the rook, because white does first need to take the bishop in the corner. So starting with the bishop makes some sense. I guess the black rook in the other corner needs to get into the game at some point. But yeah, it's a tough call. It feels like a coin toss in human terms for Vincent Keymer. He's got to peer far into the future to make any sense of this decision at all. But the time is ticking. When the clocks tick down, it's the side with the same who will be finding those easier moves, who will be the favorite. And Levon, despite being 2.5 minutes down, I think he's getting a bit excited now. He thrives in the chaos that we're about to see.
And I know this is hot action, but I'm just wondering, David, was there a reason that when that B pawn was pushed, that Levon immediately could not have gone for the rook at the corner of the board? Yeah. Wouldn't that have solved a lot of his problems?
He was going for the king instead.
Fair enough.
Just to backtrack very briefly, bishop to e4, also very possible. Also very decent. This was, according to the computer, roughly the same in terms of evaluation, going for that rook. And very interesting, because Vincent just trapped his opponent's rook in the corner, then he's like, oh, you're welcome to trap mine too.
Yeah, it's like a return favor.
Don't try it at home,
Oh.
ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, to catch up with the live position, here we are. Checkmate is in the air.
Would you call it a big threat?
Semi-decent threat.
Something
Could be
that-
worth a lot of money.
That is very true.
$200,000 on the line in the finals.
In the finals, but just booking your ticket to the grand finals means you're guaranteed $120,000 finish with second place.
Pretty decent threat. And Vincent, 2 moves to defend it, can't decide between one or the other. Under 10 minutes now. Levon with less time on the clock.
Yeah, when we have seen Vincent struggle in the group stages in general, yes, it's because of the clock, but it's also because it's hard to keep control of positions. He needs control. He's just that type of player. As soon as things explode, he tends to panic a little bit, feels a bit more uneasy, and that's where kind of great positional feel just doesn't help you. Great strategic instincts doesn't help at all. And there's just no map here to navigate with. I would be panicking, and the clock usage shows that he is really not enjoying the last few moves, Vincent Keymer.
How are you going to enjoy it when a player like Levon is literally threatening checkmate in one? The knight, queen, bishop, rook, all staring at your lone open king with no pawn shelter in front of it. The G pawn not there, the F pawn gone. Starts to look very dangerous. You forget about that extra rook that you've just pocketed.
Yeah. Just to show one final danger variation. If the black queen does slide across to protect the checkmate, white's queen takes this bishop. If black continues getting greedy, I mean, the reason he pushed the b pawn is to take here, then suddenly the other white knight jumps out and continue taking pawns. Whoops.
Oof.
Suddenly, just to show another checkmate, it's not just the knights that can deliver the killer blow, it's the queen as well. So the cornered queen, cornered rook, ending up with a direct attack. This is just with natural moves as well. This is the type of thing Vincent's seeing in his mind and
plays
causing
it.
the panic.
He made a move.
He's
Looked
gone-
like it was a queen move.
It was.
Yeah, be careful.
Alrighty.
I think Lev is going to just bullet out queen takes bishop.
Absolutely should.
Because it's not, the next decision isn't easy. Vincent's next move is not obvious. So you kind of just throw the ball at him. Unless he's trying to get creative here and now.
Creative, his middle name. He might well be. It's a bishop. It's a bishop. Take the bishop.
Very strong bishop as well. And you know, just suddenly out of nowhere, e5 becomes soft.
Wow, apparently there are other moves. No.
No.
Yeah.
Don't even say it. I don't even
Good
know what
luck.
it is, but I don't even want to know.
Good luck.
Why is Levon thinking, whatever that move is, it's on his radar. That's why he hasn't played it.
I'll afford him the time to think if he finds what the engine's telling him.
I don't... I'm going to ask chat to see if they find it.
Yeah, see if anybody can throw it out.
Okay, chat. this
Full
one's
rook
on you.
down.
Yes.
He doesn't even want. He doesn't even want the bishop.
And he's paused. So whatever that absolutely insane move is that the two of you see,
Oh, he goes for the bishop, which is a perfectly reasonable move to make in this situation. It's given the question mark, but I disagree. I disagree. Can't fault that in the slightest.
All right,
Take
guys.
that material back up.
what was it?
Instead, it was knight to e4.
Knight to e4, attacking this pawn, and incredibly, apparently the best move for black is to go back where he came from with the queen. Back to b8. He just came from the square. I think Vincent would never have played this. I think Levon would have gone on to win this game. The key idea, just for everyone at home wondering, is firstly that this pawn is hit, and if, for example, the rook defends it, then the white knight jumps forward again, hitting the queen and trying to desperately get to this checkmating square on h5. This would have been a killer attack, potentially. But, okay, Levon, that was just a maybe slightly better one, and he takes the bishop instead. And the reason I think this is a good practical decision, Vincent only has one move to survive.
True.
Whoa, everything else is busted?
Everything else is +2 or greater.
Okay, I just want to say one thing, by the way. Our chat did mention knight to e4.
Oh,
So,
yeah, we got a couple
couple
super
things-
GMs out there.
Super GMs, but there was another move that they spoke about, and the more I look at it, the more I wonder if that's the one that was on Levon's radar. Another move thrown out by our chat was queen sliding over to d1. Zone, right? You're eyeing d6, but also you g4 check and reinforce, jumping onto h5 with a checkmate. I don't think knight e4, but very possible that Levon was looking at queen d1.
I agree. He might have been looking. He would have realized that the only way for black to stop both threats is to push the pawn, covering a checking square from the queen, and making sure that the h5 square is covered twice. And now probably white would need to go over and capture the bishop again. And this is just a helpful move for black. So yeah, it's a judgment call. That was definitely not bad at all, queen d1. Cool idea, nearly worked. But moment of truth, Vincent needs to trade bishops here. Only way to survive, and it is logical. trying to release the pressure. The white bishop cutting across this diagonal is the reason. Lots of those lines are checkmate, and your material up. So why not simplify the equation? So I think he will find it. But
I want to understand, what if that move is missed? What is the knockout? Why is black minus losing by 2 points? Or why is white +2 if not bishop?
Would you make instead of bishop h7?
All right, so pawn into pawn, you mentioned, David, that the knight comes out and e5 becomes a huge target and you've got all these ideas. Let's say I want to go h-pawn forward. I want to start kicking that white knight out. I've also created some squares for my king to run away. The bar hates it.
I want to do my
You want to do your thing.
thing with a sacrifice. Want to blow open this diagonal at any cost.
So I push the h-pawn, you won't stop.
I will not stop. Nothing can. This diagonal is the key, and Vincent's made a move. It is bishop to h7.
Finds it. Come on, game on.
Of course he would find it, but it did cost him a lot of time. Vincent, it's just not his type of position, so he's desperately trying to simplify here. Can he survive the next few moves? If he does, he's still the exchange up, still rook for knight. This is such a crazy game.
An absolutely wild game, but we have another crazy game going on between Magnus Carlsen and Javokhir Sindarov, and you want to talk about time being in. It's an enemy of Javokhir. Only 4 minutes to his name. Still almost 10 minutes in Magnus Carlsen's camp. Yes, a slight advantage here by Sindarov, but has Magnus kind of wrestled his way back to some level of equivalence?
It's good news and bad news. Sindarov's a pawn up.
Yep.
He's won a pawn in the last few moves. Very quick action replay. We left it with the black bishop coming out to try and hit the white queen. Magnus said, okay, I'm just under too much pressure. The knight on the back rank needs to breathe, so he tried to trade off knights, but this comes at the cost of a pawn suddenly no longer defended, the b2 square. Javokhir does a bit of a smash and grab. He takes it, and after the white knight steps forward, he hits the white queen. He now trades off the knights, and very important now that he stops the white pawns from stepping forward and kicking his bishop away. He would lose some serious ground here, so he cements this bishop. Peter Lecker would be proud there. That bishop cannot be kicked. Magnus, in return, does have some active pieces, and yeah, he wants to slide this rook across, put more pressure on this right flank, but any endgame's now winning for Sindarov. So Magnus needs to somehow attack, and big questions over survival here for Sindarov's king, who does castle into the firing line. Very brave, but probably a good decision.
All right, but another quick response out of Magnus, right? He's going to immediately, but it gets a double question mark in this moment. A blunder on the board here from Magnus Carlsen. Two chances, but now you have to pounce.
What? He's just trapped his own Magnus. Is this a willing decision? I mean, Sindarov has to push the pawn. There's too much pressure. White is threatening all sorts along the g-file, but f5 traps the black rook. That is elementary stuff. I think this is a willing sacrifice from Magnus.
And Magnus goes wide-eyed. He can't believe he's done it himself. And that's it. That rook's about to drop off the board. Bishop takes rook. You don't even need to rush with that decision. Sindarov does it. You know, all he needs to do now is keep control over his nerves. Do not let that get better of him.
This is wild. 3 minutes on the clock, but with a totally winning position.
Totally winning.
As long as he can get checkmated, as long as he doesn't allow any infiltration on the dark squares. Magnus has dark square control this competition, but yeah, Javokhir should be winning this. He also has pawn breaks. He can break out on the other side a bit later. That's when the rooks come into play.
He first puts pressure on that pawn, h5 right now. If Magnus was to push it, the black queen will step over to g6, take control of the g line. So Magnus keeping things under lock and key as much as possible, falls back with the bishop, completely winning position for Sindarov. What were the chances that we gave him for his comeback in this?
Low, yeah. Almost, non-existent, if you will. But now it's just about consolidating his position, right? With this advantage, so maybe getting that rook over there on the a-file more involved into the game, and he's going to look to do just that. Slides it up onto the 8th, or the 7th rank rather, and now can move all the way over to the right-hand side.
Laterally defend that g7 pawn as well. Magnus is going to play on Sindarov's clock. That is his best hope right now. Control of the dark squares, just play on that. And the fact that Sindarov is under 3 minutes, Sindarov has to find a way to break open the position, right? Your rooks are only as good as the open files.
He's 3 points up in material. He's got the extra rook for bishop, and he has an extra pawn. Normally, if you sacrifice the exchange and give up a rook for a minor piece, you need one yourself in return, minimum as compensation. So Magnus, he's far, far away from holding this. That being said, he does control the dark squares for now. Sindarov just repositioning his rook there.
And Magnus makes these huge comebacks and huge turnarounds from worse positions. We've seen that happen so many times. And Sindarov's aware of it. He looks up. He knows that this is his best shot. It's just been gifted by Magnus. That last move, getting that rook to that square, losing the piece. Sindarov can't blow this chance.
I think the clock, though, I don't know if it's easy to play perfectly from here to the end of the game without allowing Magnus back in.
If it was anybody else, we'd say this is going into tie breaks. That's the Magnus bias talking right there. You know, because it's Magnus playing with the white pieces, and because everything that we've seen happen on the board, when that's the case, it's still too soon to call the result on this one. Can you believe it?
It might feel unfair to a player of Sindarov's caliber, but that, again, just speaks to the mountain that is Magnus Carlsen towering over the rest.
It's funny because this pawn structure, this exact material balance, kind of give or take a pawn. Normally Magnus would have an extra pawn on the queen side, but this arises from a well-known opening in traditional chess, a branch of the queen's gambit. And I think Magnus is kind of using pattern recognition to go into something he knows, because he's like, that has a good reputation. Yes, I'm a pawn down compared to that, but long term, I have the dark squares. White's bishop will control so many squares. All of black's pawns need to advance at some point, but it's going to be difficult to do so. So actually, I do believe Magnus thinks he's got some grip and some hope of saving this. He's definitely not going to just kind of roll over and allow Sindarov to just convert the material advantage. Big question now, does he step forward with his pawn, put them all on light squares, but give away all the dark squares? Or does he allow Magnus to open up the black king?
I would be so tempted to offer a queen trade right now. Get that queen on g6, get the queens off the board. Like you said, up material, exchange, and a pawn. Happy with the trades. I don't believe Magnus will concede. I think he'll just run away with his queen, and the game will go on. Queen g6 could be on the radar, and Sindarov about to make his decision. Not an easy one. The clock keeps ticking. Can Magnus pull a Houdini once again?
Tick-tock.
Minute 45 here for Sindarov.
Goes the clock.
Predictions now.
Oof.
Said it was minimal chances. I think it's over 50% chance for Sindarov to win this game.
Yeah.
But how much over that?
60, maybe, which is wild considering a 2-point advantage in the evaluation.
Exactly.
You know, you had 2 wishes at the start of the day today, David.
Close match.
Close match and Parham getting on the scoreboard. Parham got so close in that last game to making that a reality. Didn't happen, but this one, I think, has a big shot of going into tiebreak, going down the wire. He does bring his rook up. He wants that g6 square for his rook.
Big threat. G2 is a huge Achilles heel for Magnus Carlsen. The black bishop is just, I mean, it's the pinnacle of power here. It's just rock solid, defends everything, but also provides some attacking impetus for Javokhir to try and turn this around. I think that was a good decision. Yes, he could have planted his queen on the square, but why not go for the rook first? The queen can come later.
I love it. A queen would only offer a trade. This would win the game if you get your rook on g6 at the right moment. So Magnus with a decision now. How is he going to take care of that threat? The problem is you could move your queen away, but Javokhir can almost pre-move rook g6 right now. The slide of the rook.
This is a wild position. According to the computer, Magnus has only maybe a few ways to keep the balance, or at least limit the damage here. And that includes moving the bishop forward, hoping to pin the black rook if it slides across. Apparently moving the white king is another option, but this is already unnatural territory. Magnus has to find some very creative ways to survive. And in the meantime, wow, crazy stuff happening on the other board. Levon Aronian is a whole rook down, but the game might be about to end.
Could be dead level and heading its way towards the draw. So we're going to go back over to Levon Aronian and Vincent Keymer, because at half a point apiece, if they do go the way of a draw, we are guaranteed a tiebreak between these two, and we'll go into much faster 5-2 time controls.
Wow, this is a wild position. Rook down. That black rook in the corner is the ace up his sleeve. If Vincent can survive the onslaught right now, yes, the bishop could be captured as well. Maybe Levon, if he wants to play for a win, would take that back. He has 2 pawns and a knight for the rook. He does take it. He could have given some nasty checks and maybe repeated the position. That is Levon Aronian playing for a win. That means he doesn't just want a draw. And now Vincent needs to calculate a way to survival. The black king's still very open here.
That check on the last move would have forced a draw. That would be the end of the game, and you take it to tiebreakers, where anyway it feels like you're a favorite. but Levon, he's ambitious about his chances. The king, are you brave enough to step forward? If you do that, you might end in checkmate, and the only way to do it would be, if you go back, you might even end up losing your queen. It might be the only way to play on. King g6, I think, loses on the spot, David, there.
Oh, king g6 loses. Is it a knight jump? This is very dangerous, though, for the black king. The queen would be hit. There's going to be some nasty checks from the white king. Queen coming forward. All sorts of nonsense there. But Levon didn't want the draw. He didn't want the repetition. He took the bishop instead. And Vincent there, that was a panicky pushback of the chair.
Yep.
I think he was hoping. He was
locking
hoping for the repetition. Hoping and praying. And what a turnaround that is. I mean, he was up a rook about 5-10 moves ago. How did out of nowhere just smoke and fire here, and suddenly it's Levon Aronian going for the black king?
Is it a bit of the bluff? Is it a bit of his bluff and bluster, you know, as a player, where he just plays certain moves with confidence that you go, oh, there must be something here I'm not seeing?
Yeah, it's somewhere in the middle. I think Levon knows that he's not taking too much risk because it's actually level material now. But he's also probably aware that Vincent should be able to at least defend this position with some accuracy. Just process of elimination. The black queen can't really move. She has to defend her knight. The black knight could possibly move. I think that's a key candidate when you're considering the options. Just to kind of slide in front of the king to defend, gain time with the black queen. The other alternative to threaten checkmate, bring the black rook in. That rook's doing nothing.
I think one of the reasons that Levon's gone for this line is also because he knows that knight f6 check is always there. It's a threat, and it's a resource he's going to have. Also, the idea of the queen sliding back with a check on e4, it's just harder to be black in this position than it is to be white because of king's safety. And Vincent down to a minute and a half, he's the one who needs to be careful right now. And that's the thing, right? Levon's play, even if not accurate and engines can fight against it, this is a player with a heartbeat. It's a human. Good luck defending your king. He finds the best move in the position. Vincent does.
Be careful, Levon. Checkmate is threatened. Checkmate in 2 moves with a rook check. He needs to give his king some breathing space or just deliver some checks himself before it's too late. Oh, look at the heart rates as well, rising.
There he goes, creates a space for his king to slide to safety. If that rook were to come flying down the board. To think, the only reason we're really in a situation where Levon is fighting chances in this game could be because of that B pawn that decided to come forward and yet has stood there for the remainder of the game, staring at one of his counterparts on the other side of the board. Just that one tempo.
And that was a strange moment as well because the house was on fire on the right side, right? Your king is out in the open. And then suddenly Vincent makes this move that has absolutely no play at all at what seems to be the most important issue. I think he just thought he had all the time. And this idea of the knight jumping forward, the queen coming in, and there it is. We've got knight to g6. White's queen attacked. Do you give a check? Batsa sees a check. Batsa gives a check.
Yeah, that's the most natural move, but the black queen might just come forward and block. And queen exchanges, if he can get them on the board, Vincent Keymer, they might just help him. The black rook is the one coming in behind. With queens off the board, I think the rook is the dominant force. This is tricky.
You know, it was very brave of Levon to actually just capture that bishop as he did, instead of just bailing out and taking it into tie breaks.
He might want to take that decision back. I think
Already?
Levon should have bailed out. He is the favorite in those tie breaks after.
Yeah, he should be wanting to go to the tie breaks 100%. It should be Vincent who's trying to avoid him, finds the best move in the position, bringing his queen all the way back to A1, just cornering it, leaving it on that same diagonal so that she can jump back into the center of the board whenever she pleases. And yes, always a threat to the king on the opposite corner.
A great attacker, also a great defender of the back rank, but not an easy move to spot, you know, retreats. Piece retreats are the hardest ones.
I'm impressed. I was thinking
All the
like
way
queen
back.
e4, keep the knight now pinned to the king or something like that instead and keep the queen in the center of the board, but wasn't the case. Yeah. I see your eyes darting to the other side of my screen because Javokhir Sindarov, Magnus Carlsen, Magnus might be working some magic in this position as he usually does. If we can head back that direction, you'll see what was, again, an advantage already slipping, yes, for Sindarov. The computer now says dead level.
Crazy. It's because of the clock. He just didn't leave himself enough time. He panicked. Magnus still has 7 full minutes. And it's almost back to level material. Sindarov is still 2 pawns up, but the black king is so open at this point that that is probably not the most important factor anymore. If anything, it's Magnus who's asking the questions. Sindarov needs to keep lines closed towards his king. Maybe just a very quick action replay of how he lost the material. He's just found himself trapped here. The queen just unable to find safety, and the threat of checkmate forced Sindarov here to give up a rook for the bishop. And there we saw the question mark appear, and if we catch up, this is turning. Fully turned, I think, already, maybe.
How does he do it?
Yeah, just every time.
How does he
How
do
do you
it?
beat this guy? It's just a question everyone struggles to answer.
You have a 3-point advantage on the board. Your king is safe. You've got everything under control. And it's still almost impossible.
And he still finds a way. He still finds a way. It's magic, Carlsen.
25 seconds to work with here. For Sindarov, he's going to jump the queen in.
And you know, the weirdest part is that he's playing against the world's best. And even they're struggling with a completely winning position to win against him.
Yeah, perhaps the player playing the best chess at the end of 2025, other than Magnus Carlsen, is this guy right here, Javokhir Sindarov. And with the kind of advantage he had built, even he is struggling against the world number one. Wants to keep the queen on the board, so he does get it out of threat from that rook. But you're running out of pieces, and you're running out of time.
Yeah, running out of defensive cover here for the Black King. At the right moment, Magnus is going to try to deliver a check. For now, it's not the most important check that the White Queen can deliver. The Black Rook will slide and block. But if Magnus can somehow sneak around the back with a Rook, with a Queen, he has so much counterplay.
And that's exactly what's going on in Magnus's mind. How does he maneuver his queen towards the Black King? What are the entry roads that he has? He's still down 2 pawns, so he needs to keep the pressure going. The Black Rook playing a key defense situation here. I do see one maneuver that White could have in mind is slide the queen to f3 to target the other pawn right now, making sure that at least Sindarov doesn't have time to capture a3 in a healthy way. If White's queen finds a way to give a good check, we might be looking at Magnus setting up some big checkmating ideas.
Yeah, this could be Magnus on the front foot. The Rook could needs the queens off. Black is 2 pawns up. Queen's off, his king is off. But just no way to do that. Magnus is getting excited. Almost the 100 heart rate here, because he knows he's getting close to that final.
I think Sindarov set that up. Not only the a3 pawn, he's also threatened d1 check and sliding over to g4 to offer that queen trade if he gets that moment to do it. And Magnus isn't going to give it to him.
Okay, sip of the water, last minute calculations. Sindarov, he's well known to be a table shaker, chair shaker. He's got the nerves, the energy coursing through him right now. Can he find the energy to win this position? It's looking like the best chances have passed. He just needs one more chance.
And a rare over 100 heart rate from Magnus Carlsen there. Still less than his opponent. Fully locked in.
Okay, the moves we're expecting from Magnus are to slide the queen or to move his rook on over. There we go, he goes for the pawn with his rook. Sindarov blocks, he checks with his own rook, but wants to stop Magnus now getting greedy, to take with the rook, to start delivering some nasty checks from the side. That looks super strong.
It does. That's what Magnus has set up. But he does take a pause.
Okay, well, and this is his luxury, right? With 4.5 minutes to his name, even still, with the time that he committed to the last think, he has plenty of time to think in this critical moment as well. What is his way forward here? Only needs a draw.
There are potential ideas of trying to get the queen into the game via the dark squares, the h4 square. Although one move you don't want to make is the h2 square getting into c7, because that would be a checkmate in one. Watch out for back rank checks.
I like that move, Tanya. Bring the queen up and try to get in behind. The Black King is lacking protection from the side here. The Rook could also just take the pawn. I think he's just double checking everything just in case, Magnus.
Wait, has Sindarov set up a potential threat of giving a check on the back rank if you were to take the pawn and then sliding up the rook getting to the h line?
Yeah, he wants to move his rook up.
Give a check, win the queen on the h file.
Sneaky, sneaky.
Sneaky Sindarov.
Okay, it's very possible. Magnus could just block that by pushing his f-pawn forward. We'll see if that's on his radar. But very professional that Magnus, just as he did in the previous game, he knows he's done a lot of the hard work. Now using his time bank to secure things, to calculate.
No, that's a very important defensive resource, the f-pawn moving forward.
All right, and I know we're going to want to see this one conclude, but we have got to go back once again to Vincent Keymer versus Levon Aronian, because it looks like we might be on our way to deciding one of our grand finalists in that matchup. Take a look at this for all the fight that Levon showed throughout the game. As we get here, it is Vincent Keymer with a solid, decisive advantage by the evaluation. Still some fight left in the tank here for Levon. But there's a rook on one side to only the knight on the other when it comes to the material balance. Sure, you have an extra pawn in your favor for that, but things aren't looking good here for the Armenian.
Ooh, and it's putting pressure on the pinned piece here. The white knight is totally immobilized. The black rook has just slid on over. And this just looks terminal. Unfortunately, there's no more attack for white. That's what he needed to justify the material deficit. Earlier he had a knight and 2 pawns and some attack. Now it's just a knight and 1 pawn, and he's the one being attacked. Vincent has done a fantastic job of just controlling everything.
And it comes down to that moment, right, that you're thinking about. You had the draw in your hands. Probably a dream from the start of the match to take it into the blitz, into the tiebreaker, which was always the match strategy, or at least a huge part of it for Levon, was just within reach. He had the repetition, and he got ambitious. A double-edged sword, ambition is.
Yeah, definitely had an opportunity to bail out of this one, extend to the tiebreak. But such is Levon as a person, Levon as a player, looking for the fight, looking to make things interesting. This time it might come back to bite him.
But it's only in hindsight that you can look at these things and say that it was the wrong decision. Had it worked out, we'd be saying Levon the Brave.
Exactly. And it's our privileged position, you know, from behind the desk to be able to sit here and say all of this while they're the ones toiling away under the spotlight.
Exactly, and his call that he made not to repeat the position, maybe 60% of the time it would work out. He would draw or win that. Maybe this is just one of the exceptions where Vincent's just defended so well, so calmly. Not his usual type of position, where it's very, very tactical. But he's found a path, and now moving the knight out of the way looks to be the #1 priority. You can choose a bunch of different squares. He moves his king out of the way first, but it's coming. The black knight is going to retreat, and he's going to amplify the pressure on the pinned white knight. That is not running away. White might be forced to trade off queens at some point. Then the rook can maraud around the board.
Yeah.
Very low time for both players, though. Sorry, Tanya.
I think that's been the biggest story, right? Has been the clock. Once the queens are off the board, you're only delaying the inevitable. You're only extending your suffering. That's as good as a handshake, as good as resign. If you are forced to play that move of putting the queen back, blocking the diagonal of the pin, he does give a check, which can be blocked. Offer the queen trade yourself. You could fall back with your queen. You could even step up with your king. I like that, keeping pressure on that knight.
Okay, and that was a board slip. The queen came back to the center, and now both queens are doing the pinning. Who's doing the winning, though? And, okay, they repeat the position once.
Oh.
No,
This
Vincent
has got to be
has
just to get some time back. There you go.
Yeah,
Blocks with
he does it.
the rook.
Yeah.
Great block.
This is where ambition pays off. Vincent cannot repeat this. He's up in exchange. He's about to win the game.
Levon knows it. You can see Levon is hunting for some last-minute tricks. He needs to somehow defend his knight. It's all about the pin on this diagonal. Almost unbreakable. It's just torture here for Levon. He needs to bring his queen back to a really passive square now, whether it's the center first or whether it has to go the whole way back to defend his knight. But this is such a flimsy defensive construction. It surely will not hang together for too much longer.
And now you're trying to achieve what you should have done maybe a few turns ago. Make your way to equality and a draw. Gonna be too little too late, though, here. Vincent Keymer, the kind of player who could play this one to a victory.
Okay. No, that ship has sailed. I don't think Levon gets a second chance. Like,
Yeah, ever so slightly, there's an edge going over to Javokhir Sindarov once again. It's not quite there, and it looks like there's still a bit of game to be played.
Unbelievable.
While this one, now, Levon going to slide his king down into the bottom right-hand corner for safety, but that means goodbye to that knight that David's highlighting right there.
Yeah, traps and tricks, David.
Big trap. If the queen is taking this knight now, if it gets greedy, Vincent looking forward now, then the knight would jump out the way with a check and we'd see a turnaround. Suddenly the black queen would drop off the board. This would be a huge blunder, but Vincent dodges that trap. He's going for the white king.
Sindarov is completely winning.
How do we make a decision?
We need
We
a
jump.
two-board view. Can we get a two-board view up?
I'm going to do my best to see what we can find. For
Make
now,
it
we're here. We do
happen.
have a 4-board. That might serve for now. And if you want to see both boards play at the same time, we can at least go there. We're going to see, take a look, keep your eyes at the top of the screen. Those are the 2 boards that matter when it comes to the fight for our grand final.
Oof. That's the top left board, David. Absolute chaos there going on as Javokhir Sindarov's king is in a check. A last move inaccuracy by Magnus.
Bizarre mistake as well, like giving a check, improving the opponent's king. Magnus is down to 20 seconds. He's panicking. The queens are going to come off this board, and Magnus Carlsen is going to be down at least a pawn or 2. I think we have to jump to that one.
Yeah,
that
we're diving in to
closer
see
it.
the remainder of the action on this board. As Magnus Carlsen, with the lead coming into this one, only needed the draw, but Sindarov works his magic after just a couple of openings are provided to him from Magnus Carlsen down the stretch.
And completely in control now. He's got more than a minute on the clock. The black rook, the black king doing a fantastic job of locking in Magnus's D pawn, but who's gonna stop that A pawn from moving up the board? Sindarov knows it. Magnus Carlsen now with less time on his clock than Javokhir.
It's just simple counting here. 2 extra pawns for black, and that is decisive. Remember, Magnus Carlsen won the previous game due to a protected passed A pawn. That pawn marching down the board is going to decide the game again. It decided it for Magnus last time. It's going to decide the game for Sindarov this time. Symmetry.
Mistake on move 9 by both players in game 1. The A pawn deciding the game in both players.
How poetic.
Oh my goodness. Gives a check.
Ooh.
King will slide over. Magnus, is he coming back? He picks up the B5 pawn with a check.
Now the king has to choose the right square. If it steps forward, then Magnus delivers a double attack and saves the game. He will save it if the black king steps onto the 4th rank. He has to go back right now.
And he does.
He does.
He does. He hits that rook. This is Magnus's opportunity to land the rook behind that A passer, so not easy to start rolling that up the board. Sindarov still has to find a way to break through. He's up 2 pawns, but will it be enough against the greatest endgame player of all times?
Black rook is going to slide behind. He has to save his pawn. That is his pride and joy. There we go. Sindarov keeps his A pawn alive. That is the winner. Now, how to get past the white rook? Does the black king slide across? Do you push your pawn first? He's still up material, but it's getting difficult now.
He's gonna try to push that king away, try to push that rook away even, Sindarov will, and then bring his king up if he's given the opportunity. Magnus Carlsen now with 2 minutes on the clock. Where is his counterplay?
He barely has moves, Magnus. The rook has to keep the black king cut off. The pawns can't advance further. Maybe Magnus has to start shuffling with his king towards the center, but no, he pushes forward and things get worse.
But he stops that idea. He stops that king moving and hitting his own rook. But Magnus, he's frustrated right now.
I think there's multiple winning plans here. The black rook can just snake its way down, just step 1 square further, get the pawn closer to promotion. Magnus's fortress is not going to stand. Then the white king will be forced back. The white rook will be frozen. Eventually, the black king will be allowed to step forward. It's just too many pawns. He'll be 3 pawns up in the near future, and that's too many.
And we're going all crazy in our studio. Look at Sindarov's heart rate monitor. He's over 140, and that tells you all you need to know about the nerves that he's feeling so close to that comeback victory. He plays now on the other side of the board. Simply Magnus running out of moves here.
He's beaten Magnus once here in South Africa. He's on the verge of beating him twice, and yet he'll need to beat him a 3rd time if he wants to go to the grand finals.
Wow, at least a 3rd time, maybe even more.
This he doesn't mess up, I feel, because Sindarov here, Magnus has no counterplay, no tricks to play for. This is technique, and Sindarov's built enough time on the clock. Guys, this is going to tie breaks.
Yeah, he's gonna find it. He's playing the best chess of his life.
Just needs to bring his rook down, push his pawn. And the white king will be frozen, the white rook will be frozen, the black king will at some point be able to sneak its way round. Okay, it starts its journey, it steps into the center. Same thing, Magnus is just reduced to waiting. The king has to sidestep, E3, F3, Magnus is frozen.
Sindarov has all the moves in the world to improve his position, but at some point he has to make that breakthrough move. Will it be the rook moving forward, the pawn going one step ahead? You can't really continue with the king journey, giving Magnus the counterplay with his c-pawn. It's the one thing you want to avoid, is counterplay.
I think that wins too. Everything wins at this point. It's just what is the safest, what is the calmest, what reduces the risk.
Yeah.
In the meantime, Levon Aronian back in the game against Vincent Keymer.
Somehow we're back to zeros on the other game, but we're going to stay here until this one concludes.
We'll be going to tiebreaks in both semi-finals.
The world #1 versus the World Cup winner here. And this one about to go down to the wire. Magnus has nothing to do except shuffle his king. Finally, Sindarov making progress. Is he about to push the a-pawn? Magnus forced to come back with his king?
Magnus has to go now towards this safe square where there will be no checks from behind. Once the black pawn lands on the second rank, you cannot allow a check by the black rook. That is why the white king should be running away now, should be retreating. He's got seconds. Oh, he's still got a couple of minutes, Magnus. He's gained some time. But he's so stuck. There we go, he's moving his king back towards the corner there.
He does it. Coming to that safe spot of g2.
And the other game is about to end. I wonder whether we try and catch the last few seconds of Levon Aronian versus Vincent Keymer. Still a bit of life left in this game, Sindarov needing to find the right plan.
All right, we can try to take a look, catch the handshake perhaps, as somehow this one has found its way back to half a point apiece.
It's done.
Vincent Keymer and Levon Aronian, you can kind of see it in both their body language. What an up and down journey that was of a game.
Yeah, so perpetual check in the final position, we see it there. The queen attacking the king, attacking the knight. If the king slides back, then the queen would also slide back with the double attack, and we would see a dance between queen and king. That is why the game was a draw after so many twists and turns.
So those were the final moments following the conclusion of this round, and before the tie breaks, maybe we'll go back and walk through more of this game and how we eventually got to that perpetual check. But of course, right back goes our focus to Magnus Carlsen and Javokhir Sindarov.
Whoa, what? There's been a complete transformation. But still winning. He's got these two controlled central pawns, connected passes. Sindarov does. He's given up the a-pawn for the f-pawn. Good enough to win the game.
More than enough. Two connected pass pawns are gold dust in rook and pawn endgames. And Magnus, you can see the body language. He's playing the last few moves. He's going to try and seek counterplay with his own pawn, but it's so slow. That pawn is totally irrelevant right now. Even without it, Javokhir is winning.
Yeah, but with this guy, it's not over till you don't sign off the score sheet. Till you don't play that last move. Magnus is still gonna make Javokhir sweat for that equalizer right now. But with the king stuck in the corner, David, you don't even have to care about that h-pawn. You just keep rolling up the board.
And that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to give away his h-pawn. He's going to start rolling those two connected pawns down the board.
Now he's going to bring his king in to defend his pawns. Very logical. And the problem is that corner pawns, these flank pawns, run so slowly, especially in rook endgames. White's king is also cut off on the worst possible square. Can't contribute to the fight.
Yeah. He tries to stop that e-pawn from moving forward just yet by putting pressure on the f-pawn, but the king will play assist, will move forward, hit the rook, come closer to his own rook eventually, and then there's no stopping the e-pawn. Magnus knows it's close to the end, and it's time to get ready for the next game.
Touching distance now. This is the closest he's ever been to victory. Javokhir, he's done everything right in this endgame. As soon as the queens came off, he's converted it flawlessly. And now multiple moves. I think bring the king in would be the safest. There we go. Now the black rook can even step back. Keep the white pawn under lock and key, and it's the black e-pawn that's going to run clear pathway here for it.
Clinical by Javokhir. This one is one of the hardest things in chess, to beat Magnus, to beat him in the endgame. Even harder, and he does it. Javokhir Sindarov is back, forces the tie breaks.
Can you believe it? The world #1 being forced into a tie-break scenario in the semifinals against our youngest player in the field. The 2025 World Cup champion is now looking to become the 2025 Grand Slam champion. He gets his tie-break.
Gets this tie break. He picks white to start those tie breaks. And fancy tie there. I love the arbiter's tie. But in the meantime, how are we going to break the tie between these two players? They're both so impressive.
Magnus, Javokhir has defeated Magnus twice in this tournament.
And to think,
He's made it
I've beat him twice and I still have to keep playing him?
Few players can say that about their entire chess career.
Yeah, your reward is to just play him again.
At least twice more.
At least twice more. That's right. Yeah, it's going to be that switch up that we saw just yesterday from 30-15 down to 5-2. While our two semifinal matchups have been decided, our two lower bracket bouts are still in play. Let's check in with Fabiano versus Parham to see if Parham can come away with either half a point or a full point even. It is a rook and pawn endgame. Caruana is the one with the extra pawn.
It's not lasting long. The white rook can take that extra pawn if it wants here and now. This should be a draw, but it is Parham on the front foot. I don't think Parham can lose, which is great news for him, although he will want to win and tie up this match, prolong it, and take it to tie breaks. The problem is here that the white pawn is so close to touchdown, but the white king might be forced in front of it to hide from checks. The black rook is going to keep checking, and that will slow white down just enough for black's rook to come round the side and start checking again. This is, I think, still going to go on for a while. It's still not easy, but it's very much Fabiano in survival mode.
So it looks like both of David's wishes are going to be granted today. Should have asked for a lot more there in the pre-show, David Howell.
Third wish.
Could have asked for world peace.
That's my
Throw
third
it out
wish.
there. Yeah.
One day. In the meantime, the checks.
We don't need to go there, but just to keep people apprised of what's happening on the other board. It's a near identical scenario where it's a rook apiece and only the player with the white pieces has that extra pawn. That would be Arjun Erigaisi, so he's the only one playing for a victory, if at all, but very likely going to a draw there. And that would be a tiebreak because they were tied coming into the games. It would only be this one where a draw says Fabiano has an early day and he's playing for 5th place tomorrow.
Yeah. The other game is a theoretical draw, one that Hans Niemann has probably studied before, so he knows.
And as we see there, he's trying to push for the win here. Parham is. Let's see how this one goes, but I cannot believe that Sindarov strikes back in his game. He's dragged the world #1 into tiebreakers. Not something I saw coming at the start of that game too.
I can't believe it. I wonder if he can even believe it, right? Maybe living in a bit of a dream world right now.
What happened here? Head in hands. That's not a good sign for Parham. Still everything under control.
I think the head in hands, to me, I read it more as I'm not seeing my victory. I'm only seeing my draw, and therefore I'm not extending the series, even if I do get my half a point on the board.
I get the scoreboard going, but I lose the match.
Exactly.
Shake of the head, he knows that, yes, at least it will not be an 11th loss in a row, but he will probably not win this game either. Fabiano can draw this in multiple ways. He can even give up his pawn, the c4 pawn, but at some point he's going to start seeking counterplay by pushing his h-pawn forward. Ultimately, the black rook might even give itself up for white's pawn, as long as the black pawn and the black king are far enough down the board. So some calculation still needed, but that's Fabiano's strong point, 1.5 minutes. Even without the 2 black pawns, we should mention, if black gets 2 more moves and kind of shuffles his king across, gets the rook from the side delivering some checks, that is even still a draw. So there's some leeway here for Fabiano.
All right, well, he's going to start marching that H-pawn, down the board.
And he's doing it. I'm honestly just glad that with this draw, Parham will stop the bleeding. And he goes into tomorrow hoping to at least get 1 match victory here in South Africa. For Fabi, of course, his eyes are set on that 5th place finish, the highest that you can go in the lower bracket. A lot of money on the line as well. But this one, just glad that Parham doesn't lose right now.
Yeah, he's going through the motions. He's desperately trying to find a solution. Rook takes pawn is probably the most natural move here for anyone at home wondering. But then the black king will get time to sneak forward. The race will begin. And maybe it's just the fact that black gains some time in the process that will help Fabiano to draw. If the white king steps out, pokes his head out, then the black rook will just deliver some checks. That is actually what will happen. Fabiano now is almost guaranteed to give a check from behind.
I'm just ridiculously stoked that both our matches in the upper bracket go into tiebreakers. Levon, Vincent, not decided yet. Sindarov making his comeback. Both final spots on the line. What a day in South Africa.
More chess.
Point, it's only just beginning.
And Fabiano now with a bit of a choice. He can step his king across He can bring it forward, he can step it just one square across. I'm wondering whether he wants to go for a draw he knows, but it is slightly more difficult maybe. That is a theoretical draw, even without the black pawns, just to step the black king across and start checking from the side. That is the key, to go the long way around, to start checking the white king. Or whether he wants to kind of gamble slightly, but calculate a race where the black king starts marching forward to support the h-pawn's push, and to just give up his rook for the white pawn.
Is there a right and wrong? Is there only one path to draw here?
Everything draws, apparently. But
You don't know that when you're playing on the board.
exactly. And
You feel you need to be precise.
he knows it's a draw, Fabiano. He just wants to find the most secure way, the least risky. Parham going through the motions, the pain on his face, the determination. Still impressive to see how much he cares.
So many winning positions just slipping out of his hand in those last final few moments throughout the last 3 days that we've seen here.
Going for
I
the
think
pawn
you
push.
said it, David. During the group stage, he had 3 winning positions. Imagine those turn into 3 wins, and he's one of the challengers alongside Fabiano. That's the same scoreline Fabiano put up in the group stage.
Yesterday, first game, Sindarov winning position again.
Wow, imagine that.
Yeah, imagine it could have been a Maghsoodloo fighting Magnus for a spot in the final.
Oof. Yeah, it was the story of the first round in round robin, right, against Fabiano. Just winning position, lost. It's the same thing that happened to Vidit against Magnus back in Paris, that pretty much determined and decided the disastrous tournament that he ended up having eventually.
And sometimes one of those initial games, right, it can color the rest of your tournament.
I just want to mention a cool, curious point that all of the matches we see today, they also mirror the first round of the group stage that we had a couple of days ago.
All 4 of them.
All 4 of them. I
My
was
goodness.
Figuring that out
In this
earlier
moment,
today.
yeah.
Yeah, Magnus played Sindarov to start off their time in South Africa. It was also
Fabi?
Parham Fabi. It was Levon against other Grand Slam winner Vincent Keymer and the 2003 kids. So some nice symmetry here. Yeah,
Written in the stars.
exactly.
Being the most dramatic day of chess, the round robin, and here we are in the semifinals as well.
There's been a lot of poetry out there on the stage here in South Africa.
And now the problem for Parham, rook takes pawn, the black king can join the party, and white is just one move too slow. We'll see. Ooh,
And, yeah, everyone's watching over.
The
this
raise of
endgame.
the eyebrows there from Magnus.
The thing is, they're all waiting for their tiebreakers, right? They know that this one ends, that's when their game starts.
Exactly.
wow, big risk from Parham. He wants to just allow black to make a new queen here, and then he wants to move his rook across, move his king out of the way, and make a new queen himself. If white queens the pawn, promotes, it comes with a check. This is wild stuff. That raised an eyebrow from Magnus. Can Fabi react under 20 seconds?
He does. He goes for it. Parham going for that plan that he started with the idea of sliding the king over. The thing is, if you give a check, you win the game.
Yeah, I think this might lose, by the way, pushing the black pawn forward.
Wow.
White king steps out the way, and white makes a queen with check, game over. White gives the first check, but Fabiano is doing the right thing. He's going to give up his rook for the pawn.
And then use the c-pawn to distract the white rook away from the center and bring up his own king, eventually drawing the game. So, precise defense by Fabi here.
Yeah, rook's coming to A8 from here.
Yeah, you can bring a rook up to A8. You can give a check probably as well. Everyone watching.
It's quite a crowd there. You can start feeling the pressure, you know, when you've got these guys looking over your shoulders. You better be precise. Don't mess this up, Parham and Fabi.
Ooh, he's tried everything, Parham. The
Check
check.
first.
Oh, is it going to be a repetition right here, right now?
Could keep checking. Oh, he even gives up his rook for the pawn. That's how confident he is. And he has countered correctly. He's going to be in time, Fabiano Caruana, to use his pawns. One of them as a decoy, and then his king will come to support the other.
Give one of them up.
Does it matter what you recapture with here? Your rook or your king?
I'd want to go with the king, just stopping the black king from getting up the board. That would be my choice.
Yeah, agree. And he agrees too, Parham Maghsoodloo. But the black pawns are marching. And white is just a little bit too slow. Pawns will now push. Don't think it really matters the order. Just anything to drag the white rook back to the first rank to break the cutoff that we see of the black king. The king will then advance, and he's going to be just in time to support his pawns.
No matter which pawn gets pushed, the rook has to come all the way down to E1, which we see play out on the board, protecting that promotion square.
Now it's time for the Black King to start advancing. The C pawn is totally irrelevant here. It is all about the Black King supporting its H pawn. The pawn is nearer to, and the White Rook will be forced to give itself up for that pawn.
As this plays out, I can reveal that the other board, the other lower bracket battle, Hans Niemann, Arjun Erigaisi, did end in a draw as expected based on the rook and pawn endgame, so they will be going to a tiebreaker. 3 of our 4 tables will be playing again.
Yeah.
Oof, what a roller coaster. Yeah, not this one. But Parham getting that draw in, getting some score going there. Fabi will take the match victory here.
He's trying to look for one last trick, Parham, but Fabiano's moves are so straightforward at this point. He's just going to bring his king forward and going to promote his pawn.
And we very well could have had 4 tiebreakers because Parham was so close to a draw in the first one. We had him in the confessional, everything under control till it wasn't. Just a blunder and the match out of his hands.
Yep. Very, very unfortunate.
Now everything, I think, draws for Fabiano. The kind of most instructive move would be to step across. There we go, to stop the White King coming back towards the H pawn. Magnus smiling, Vincent looking like he knows what's about to happen. The Black King's just coming forward. That will cost White, his rook. Draw.
Right, at the very least, the White King can step forward, up to D4, threaten that C-pawn. That's a small consolation prize, though.
What do you guys think? Magnus, Vincent, they're looking at this board. They know it's about to end in a draw. Do you think they're actually thinking about the action that's coming up, or what's going on in their mind? Where's their mind at right now?
Chess players, they love keeping their minds busy.
Yeah.
Even if they should be resting, rehydrating.
I don't think Magnus is thinking of the next game. Maybe there's a bit of it eating away at Vincent's brain, but that might be maybe one of the benefits of playing freestyle chess.
Exactly.
Until you know the position, there's not
no
too
point.
much thinking that can be done.
Completely agree. I think in standard chess, that's exactly what's going on in their head. What's going to be their opening approach? But right now, you can't have one.
We're about to see a draw. Parham is actually having to scramble for the draw here just before the Black King is able to come forward. But, okay, Fabiano forces it. We're going to see king versus king to end this game. It's going to be a handshake. Maghsoodloo gets on the scoreboard, but not enough to save this match.
Now, a small consolation prize for him as he falls down to Fabiano Caruana in this lower bracket battle. Fabi, he'll be in that 5th place matchup tomorrow. Parham Maghsoodloo will be playing for 7th.
As the players sit down to analyze, we've still got so much chess coming on. This one ends match victory to Fabi with 3 big tiebreakers, including for the 2 spots into the finals.
Yeah, massive, massive tiebreakers. Grand final spots is still very much on the line.
$200,000 to boot. 5+2. We speak about momentum. Magnus had it on his side yesterday when he won the comeback game. Will Sindarov have it? What a day of chess this has been.
With the position draw, the players took their seats, and the pressure and all eyes were on Javokhir Sindarov, up against the world #1 and down a full point after given just a couple of openings within the game. He did take what was a sizable advantage, but akin to what Magnus seems always capable to do, he would bring it back to nearly within even until the young Uzbek had something to say about it down the stretch.
All eyes were on him, but little hope was on him. I think it's one of the big achievements in chess if you can make this comeback victory. And it looked like within reach, then not, and then he did it finally. That goes into tiebreakers in this one. Vincent Keymer, Levon Aronian, an absolute roller coaster of a game, David.
Yeah, crazy tactical melee on one board. From Sindarov, it was just taking the material, clinging on and converting. And ultimately, the results are the same on both semifinals.
That's the thing. 4 results across 4 boards, but really only one thing is learned. And that is, of course, that Fabiano and Parham will move into tomorrow playing for 5th and 7th, respectively. Because you can see here in the upper bracket, we are all tied up across our semifinals. We'll be diving into a new best of 2 between each of these players with 5-2 time controls shortly. Let's go ahead, though, to flip to that lower bracket because there's still one more board alive down there as well. Hans Niemann and Arjun Erigaisi. They want to figure out who will go on to face Caruana in that 5th place matchup tomorrow and who will drop down to go up against Parham Maghsoodloo.
Yeah, we didn't see that that match too much, but it was Arjun with the pressure, trying to edge his way past Hans Niemann, but great defense from the American. And yeah, we go again. They go again.
Everyone goes again. I absolutely love it. And I have to ask you guys, I mean, we spoke about momentum. It's something that we talk so much in chess commentary and something that we see play out all the time. Magnus finding it against Fabi, 2-0 in the end. Sindarov, with that win, do you think it's advantage Sindarov going into this tiebreaker now?
Advantage, no. You're never going to hear me say advantage against Magnus Carlsen, but I think his odds get significantly better. I actually think 5-2 can work in his favor along with momentum. So what maybe would have been a 70-30 or something, you know, coming into the day, and just with what I know of Magnus Carlsen, now might have shrunk to a 60-40 or a 55-45 type matchup.
Yeah, one thing I noticed about Magnus, though, is that over the last year or two, he has been struggling to keep leads. Like, he's great at striking back. We saw that yesterday against Fabiano, but the World Blitz Championship last year, he was 2 points up against Nepomniachtchi with 2 games to go. He lost 2 games on the bounce, Magnus, so he couldn't cling on to that. That's why we saw the infamous kind of co-champions. It's happened a few times for Magnus, so I think that last game was Magnus a bit nervous, bad opening, and yeah, I think the reset is all important. I still think he's a big favorite.
Yeah, I want numbers here because Magnus, again, David, always a favorite, impossible to bet against, right? We had lost all hope on Sindarov. That this match is over, Magnus is going to be our first finalist. And here he's back. I'll go first on this one. I would say it's a 60-40.
Wait, I already threw out my numbers.
Did you
What do you
say
mean you went
60-40?
first? I said all of my numbers. Did you just ignore them?
I heard it.
Yeah, we've got video evidence. I'll tell you that much.
What
Good thing
way?
all the cameras are rolling.
Acting.
When in doubt.
I said what would have previously been a 70-30
Oh,
in
you
favor
said
of
it.
Magnus with the
I promise
5-2.
you. I missed it.
I bring it to a 60-40. So
I'm with
actually,
you. I'm
you
with
and I are in perfect alignment.
David, would you agree or do you disagree?
Hot take, it's 60-40.
Whoa! Whoa! That's the first time I've heard that today.
Me too, I just came out with it, what can I say?
What a great number to throw out. All right, fair, guys. Sorry about that. But let's also talk about the Vincent Levon matchup.
This one.
Like 2 draws, but absolutely insane stuff on the board. You know, not all draws are made equal, and these are the kind that we love to watch.
Yeah, but I'm going to give an edge to Levon here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 70-30.
I heard that.
Whoa!
I think that was Vincent's big chance. Like, he had a winning position, and it was so winning at some point that I think he's going to be kicking himself for not converting, and also we've seen his struggles in the lower time formats.
The delta between Levon and Vincent is greater than the delta between Magnus and Javokhir?
I think, maybe I'm being too optimistic on Levon's part, but I don't know, I've just seen it so many times. Levon, he knocked out Magnus, he knocked out Hikaru in the Blitz in Vegas. He's got a great track record in the tie breaks, beat Hans yesterday. Vincent's always struggled in the quicker time formats.
Help me out, it's not 70-30, is it?
You know, I'm going to throw a number that's never been heard before. You know which one that is. I think it's a 60-40 for Levon taking this. But you know what? When I look at the way this whole Grand Slam's played out, Magnus has 2 titles. He's won the tour. Vincent Keymer, Weissenhaus champion. Levon Aronian, Vegas champion. There's one guy in the mix who hasn't won anything but has been so impressive. So I'd love to see Sindarov have that deep run and go all the way.
Yeah, I honestly was only going to give it a 55-45 in favor of Levon. Again, you know, that's it's still a solid vote of confidence, but I wasn't going as far as 70-30.
All this stats talk, guys, is hurting my brain.
My goodness. Well, as you can see, we're very much enjoying our time here in South Africa and watching these players duke it out over the board, but we're not the only one. We have a public viewing party taking place back in Cape Town, and so we've got a little bit of a highlight of what it's been like to be watching the games underneath the glorious sun here in South Africa. Take a look.
Away! Welcome to the V&A Waterfront, where myself, Katua, Adrian, and Vidates are hosting some of the action.
It's the live stream happening right here. It's beautiful. People are in here to see all the action happening.
I'm here to give my chess tips to all the people who are here. The chess enthusiasm of the people in Cape Town is amazing. I didn't expect that.
And now we're going back to the commentary, right?
Yeah, enough about us. Let's
go back.
Away.
Over there in Cape Town, Vidit holding it down for the people out there in the hot South African sun. What a treat commentary is from him time and time again.
He's the man. He's so funny. He understands so much about what the players are going through. He's been there on the tour, playing in the Grand Slams himself, and yeah, he's keeping everyone entertained. I have no doubt about that.
I wonder who he would give edges and what percentages he would be giving.
I think I got overexcited with the 70. I retract. 60-40.
Stick to your guns, man. Don't let us bully you into submission.
Yeah, but that is a hot take. I mean, Vincent versus Levon, 70-30, very interesting stuff. But who knows, you know? We'll find out. But I completely agree with it. Chess fever is on in South Africa across. I mean, here as well, it's been just so amazing to watch the players, how inspired they've been, the inspired action they've been bringing on.
Yeah, and honestly, I love the call out to the time that we spent in South Africa because it began before we arrived here at Grootbos, right? We had a number of opportunities for our top players to go meet with some of the young prospects here in South Africa. Multiple simul games being played between a number of our top GMs at both universities and with local schools. Love to see the younger generations inspired to someday meet the greatness or match the greatness of these very players that you see on your screens. Now, we've talked about perhaps the higher stakes matchups at the top of the table, but of course we still have Arjun Erigaisi and Hans Niemann about to go at it as well in their tiebreak. So what do you feel there? Because this is where I would say perhaps these guys are more evenly matched in a faster time control than we've been giving credit to the other two matchups.
No, that's absolutely a street fight between these two players. I mean, both Arjun and Hans, extremely strong, extremely quick when they've got a little time to start with. Very good blitz players as well. Slightly biased towards Arjun, you can't blame me for that. But I will say Hans in this match so far hasn't really given him any big opportunities. So it's anyone's match, that one is.
Yeah, that one's not a 70-30. That's the only thing I can say.
It's an 80-20.
It's a 90-10. I just don't know whose favor. No, I think that is literally 50-50 at this point.
I agree.
It's just so hard to separate them, and I think it might just be decided on the time scrambles in one of the two blitz games.
Either way, the gloves have got to come off at this point, I think, for all of our players. And this is all still pending what the position draw will be and what the evaluations of those positions will be by the players. Because as we know, freestyle chess does not mean that you get to start on an equal playing field, per se.
That's true. And we saw it yesterday. The tie breaks, they were just so close. I mean, especially Levon against Hans, it just felt so random. Like, yes, the starting positions had a bit to say about it, but ultimately it's the nerves now and the fact that there is a lot on the line and you have to keep your head.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I just want to add, you know, Javokhir with the short time format was an absolute beast. When we had 10+5 in the round robin, he was undefeated. He finished the round robin with 5.5 out of 7. So that makes me think, going into the 5+2, the odds have to shake up in his favor.
In his favor part is, I think, the tricky. I think by far and away he's got better chances now than he did coming into the day, given the switch up in time control. And actually, yeah, sure, if we take with what he's proven by getting one back against Magnus Carlsen in that game that was just played, I would imagine he should feel confident going into this next one.
And we're only missing Magnus from the players still remaining who will be in action in a few minutes' time. We saw Fabiano there, kind of just relieved, I think. They doesn't have to play more chess today, but the rest are getting ready, getting back into the zone.
Sindarov already with his leg shake there, something that we get used to seeing when he's playing chess. Wonder if he's feeling the nerves. The thing is that when you lose the first game, you have a feeling that that's it, you know, I'm going to fight in the lower bracket. And here he's been given a second life. He knows he's done something that's almost near impossible. He's made that comeback, and it's a reset.
Yeah, he's made that comeback, and now maybe Magnus a bit upset at himself for giving that opportunity to the young man in Javokhir Sindarov, forcing himself to have to play yet another matchup. He's made his way back into the playing hall. A number of our players have all found their seats, and they eagerly await what will be the battlefield for their next game, the first of our two tie-break scenarios. Once again, we go back to Fiona Stahl-Anthony on the stage for the draw.
Welcome back. Both our semi-finals are heading into playoff after Sindarov struck back in game 2, as well as Erigaisi against Niemann. They will play 2 games of 5+2. We're about to draw the position. I'm delighted to be joined by Women International Master and Senior Lead Instructor Ansel Laubscher. Ansel, you and I had a quick chat earlier about the educational value of freestyle. Do you want to say a few words about that?
Oh, thanks, Fiona. Yeah, well, from my side, I'm still trying to learn normal chess, so freestyle is a whole different variation for me. But I do think that there's definitely a place for freestyle in educational chess because it makes the players understand the value of the pieces and to find that happy place for every piece, where they can function optimally.
And it's a joy watching our players do that here. Let's find out now which position they will play next. So it's gonna be position number 182, 182. The players only have 5 minutes to prepare this time around. So players, best of luck, and for everyone watching at home, have fun.
Ich komme nicht raus, ich glaube, den lässt du warten.
But to G3, I think they will play something like C5 or E5. But I actually like D4, right? You don't
Yeah,
D4. You try to push.
G6.
I mean, G6, C3.
D5.
Ah, D5 is like bishop 5.
So we have to go to G4.
Yeah, maybe. You don't know, like. And knight b6, it will be risky.
Knight b6, bishop f4.
Huh? Knight b6, bishop f4. But
Knight b6, yeah. After G6, we could go knight b.
yeah, knight b3, yeah. And idea to G3, E4 fast.
D5.
G3,
G3.
knight b6, I think.
This is good. Bishop c4, yeah? No, bishop to knight c6. And so knight c3, bishop f5, or about e4?
Oh, why we cannot play e4? I mean, take with the 2 bishop g2. It seems very good position.
So d4, g6, knight b3. So
Yeah.
Okay. a5?
a5? Wow. It's crazy. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe b5 is it?
Yes, b4.
They're pushing.
Maybe here. The c3, I don't know.
Maybe
a4.
knight c5.
b5. And then d6. Too many tempting, no?
Did you see?
Oh.
I mean, yes, there is too many tempo, but wait, look, I mean, too many tempo, but actually knight was on d3, I think is very good.
Bishop 7.
In g3, d6, and knight d3.
We start in 2 minutes.
I mean, this d4 looks wrong, no? You can just copy this. This doesn't look like there's some emailing issue. Yeah. There we go. That's okay. Let's see if we need one. It's just risky and very strange position.
So it's 1 minute to the start of the game.
1 minute away from tie breaks getting underway. It's position 182. You can see Levon getting his last couple glimpses at it outside, underneath the sun, before he dives back into the playing hall and gets himself situated for his matchup against Vincent Keymer. Of course, we'll also have a heavy focus on Javokhir Sindarov, who extended his run against Magnus Carlsen with a necessary win in his most recent game. 5-2 is the time controls, though, here. So a quick switch up in pace. Who will be the quickest out the gate? That's the question.
Blink 182. It's
and you'll miss it.
Exactly. Interesting position here to start off with. The players didn't have so much time to analyze. I think we're going to see some crazy openings. It feels always with queens in the corner, knights in the corner, as if things get imbalanced quickly.
Wow. They need to readjust themselves to this faster time control, 5+2, and I think that is a big challenge. I'd almost say you got to forget all the small things. And then just focus on the job at hand there.
I'm giving you an applause for that one. Wonderfully done. Beautifully crafted. Away we go. We've got both of our semifinal boards up on your screen, so we don't miss too much of the action early on between these top dogs.
And Levon Aronian, or as early as move 2, has made a small mistake apparently, but nothing to write home about. Vincent Keymer, it looks like he wants to fianchetto some pieces. Magnus arrives late, as per usual, forfeiting some time on the clock. 30 seconds gone.
Yeah, late in this scenario. That could come back to bite you.
I mean, he did that in game 2 of the longer time format, and it didn't work too well for him. And right now, with just 5 minutes to start, 30 seconds less, he does go with that central break, always trying to get his queen out into the game as quickly as possible. Magnus Carlsen does.
Big moment for Sindarov, especially on the left board in front of you. Does he capture, allow Magnus's queen out, or does he bypass the pawn? Does he say, I'm going to lock the center, gain some space, push forward? I think that would show a lot of ambition. That's the most ambitious move from Sindarov. So we'll learn about his mindset here and now. The other board, I think, might become a bit more symmetrical, at least for a few more moves. But Levon Aronian will be trying to crack open the center in the near future.
But would you believe it? For the 30 seconds that Magnus Carlsen sacrificed by coming to the board late, Javokhir's already given that back to him with this think, rapidly approaching the 4-minute mark early on here in this tiebreak scenario, only 2 moves in.
I would believe it because, you know, the thing is that 3 moves, the third move is going to decide and dictate the nature of the position for the rest of it. Do you keep things closed? Do you open up? He says, I'll go with the former. He gains more space in the center, but giving a free hand to Magnus on that right flank. Will he push the F-pawn eventually up the board as well?
Magnus is trying to turn it into a King's Indian type of pawn structure, the structure that normally arises from that opening in traditional chess where he can rely on pattern recognition. Sindarov might just agree. And yeah, I'm very pleased to see that he's pushed his pawn forward with white, because we might see the connect 4, but also because it shows his mindset. He wants to beat Magnus here and now. He wants to do it with the white pieces. And okay, first of all, he pushes this pawn forward. He's not worrying about his central pawn, because after the white g-pawn steps forward, or white knight comes, the white queen can get into the center. This is going to be a very locked position for a while.
I love the aggression that Sindarov's showing right now. He's not shying away from the fight. And usually in these games, the board gets divided into half. You know, Sindarov focusing on the left flank, Magnus on the right side of the board. You're pointing out the knight jump coming in with an attack on the 2 pawns. There's ideas of c5 break at the right time, suddenly opening up the bishop spot to give a check. That b5 square now under control by Magnus on a6. It's going to be a race on the 2 flanks.
Magnus not wanting that knight to be able to jump further into the position, so he's going to steal that square away from his opponent. So Javokhir says, you grab space on one side of the board, I'll grab space on the other side of the board, launching his h-pawn down and maybe giving his queen away into the game.
Very interesting, but that also shows his intentions. He's not going to castle anymore on the right flank here, Sindarov. He's most likely going to plant his king on the other flank. So at least that's an indicator to Magnus about how he should be planning for the future. Brings his bishop forward there. Magnus, will he trade dark squared bishops? That tends to be a problem piece for black. Maybe that's on the agenda for soon, at least in the next few moves. He's slowing down.
Yes, he's got his hand on that bishop. He wants to develop pieces right now. Just feels like more space. I like the pace that Sindarov's keeping on the clock as well. Magnus also hinting towards the flexibility of the black king. Might go either way.
Yeah, the king could go to the left. There's also a very typical idea in these types of structures. Black is a bit cramped, so trading off is the key. The more trades we see, the more he can breathe a sigh of relief, Magnus Carlsen. Very tense position here. But Sindarov, just as he's been all day, behind on the clock again.
It's fascinating to me how willing all of these players are to leave so many pieces on the board in a 5-minute game of chess. I feel like they'd be willingly trading things off, say, let's make this simple for ourselves, and yet the complexity only continues to build.
You have to keep the tension when you're at this level. Whoever blinks first stays the one on the back foot usually, and both these players doing just that. Sindarov now, but he has to make a move faster because the big decisions lie ahead in the game. This is not the critical moment.
And
Get the bishop out. Push that H-pawn. But make a move, Sindarov.
He's got to make a move. He's got to make a move, and quickly here already. More than a minute off of his clock as compared to his opponent. As we know in this position, you blink 182 and you miss it. And we've missed quite a bit of the other board. So how about we hop over there real quick just to check in on that semifinal. Levon Aronian, Vincent Keymer. How's that one developed? I see a question mark given the most recent move, but equivalence on the bar. Still every piece on the board.
Yeah. Big moment. Levon Aronian has pushed forward. With space comes responsibility. He backs up his pawn there. Maybe an opportunity to try and bring the knight forward. There's a big hole in black's camp on the dart squares. Again, it's a bit like Swiss cheese. You put your pawns on light squares, the dart squares become weak. I think this is a great start to the game for Levon if he can keep the momentum. But Vincent's trying to save things by getting the queens off the board. And there we go. Breaks in the center.
He's trying to fight for that space right back. He wants that knight to occupy that spot if the trades are accepted. I like this active approach by Vincent. He also keeps it level on the clock. We've spoken about his time management on your player cards as one of his weakest points. Levon trying to find ways he can make use of that, but so far Vincent doing a great job.
Unfortunately did have to concede control of the H-file with that queen trade. So that could be a resource for Levon later on in the game.
And in the meantime, Levon has to decide what to do, whether to keep the tension or whether to trade off. Probably safer to trade off this pawn. The downside is his knight cannot sneak forward anymore because the black bishop has suddenly come to life. That was such a good moment for Vincent to strike in the center. Levon playing on the flanks, you play down the center of the park. So this game looking much more stable and more balanced than the other board, at least for now.
All right, with stability here, back we go. Over to Magnus Carlsen, Javokhir. We'll likely follow this one to its conclusion as it is such a marquee matchup. Javokhir looking to do the unthinkable over Magnus Carlsen and get a win here in game one of the tiebreak and set himself up for success. He jumps in with his knight, looking for the trade.
The clock. 1 minute versus 3. This is brinksmanship at its best. And Magnus has traded off pieces. Magnus is about to get the dart square bishops off the board as well. First, you've got to stop the white queen from swooping in on the diagonal. You've got to block that line, probably with a pawn. But Magnus has got a fantastic position now suddenly.
I love that last move by Sindarov, hinting at that queen a7 jump, hitting the black rook at the other flank right now. Magnus needs to take a pause, play that pawn move if he finds it. He doesn't. He does go immediately for the bishop trade on the other side, giving white the opportunity to come flying away with that queen. Will he do it? He falls back with the knight first.
Magnus would have castled his king to protect his rooks, connect his rooks, if the white queen had jumped in. So not yet, but now Magnus has a very good bishop against a very bad bishop.
Yeah.
No space issues, and he is the one who holds the key to the center. He can break or close it, depending on what he wants. Magnus is in charge.
And he might increase the tension eventually by pushing the g-pawn as well with the rook nicely lined up against the white queen. Watch out for those pawn breaks if you're Javokhir Sindarov. But right now, first of all, foremost, watch your clock.
Needs to speed up. I love your idea there, Tanya. Connect 4 across the board. Magnus is going to hold that one up his sleeve for a bit later. But first, there's a bit of a dance. Who's going to go which side here with their king? The white king's probably going to the left once the black bishop's being kicked away. I think Magnus is trying to prepare for that inevitability. Slowing down now.
Very complicated stuff here. With all the pawns still on the board, no open lines. It's already a game for all 3 results. This one is.
You mentioned the pace slowing down, but it's Magnus who's choosing to slow down the pace, right? And it's so indicative of him feeling like these are the critical moments in the game for him to come away with a victory.
Exactly. He thinks when he wants. He kind of speeds things up when he wants. At the moment, it's Javokhir pretty much just reacting. And this is very interesting. I thought he would wait a few more moves, but he feels he's ready to open up those lines before white can fully coordinate the pieces and get them off the back rank.
Yeah, but even if you have to react, you need more time on the clock. He's now under the 40-second mark, and big questions. There's so much tension in the center. A trade-off between the F and the E pawn, between the G and the H pawn as well. And Javokhir with the first inaccuracy on the board.
Will it be the first or will it be the last inaccuracy? Javokhir struggling with 30 seconds on his clock. He takes with the knight. He has one strong piece, but suddenly the black queen is so strong on the diagonal. Suddenly Magnus is also up one pawn, and this is what he wanted. The white queen swoops all the way in behind enemy lines. Is that effective, or is that just a shot in the dark attacking the rook?
It's a big threat. You move that rook, you lose the pawn in front of it. Magnus will have to find a way. I don't think you want to go castling on the other side after all the trades that have happened. Magnus is going to do vintage Magnus stuff. He just places his king in the center, steps it one step forward, connects the two rooks, up a pawn, G2 attack. Happy Magnus.
Very happy Magnus. He kind of, there's some things he enjoys. He enjoys walking into discovered checks. He enjoys queen sacrifices, all the counterintuitive things in chess. And one of those is not castling your king. So Magnus, without a doubt, is going to play this move, surely.
But now both players under that 1 minute mark, and that's when mistakes start happening. It's never the first. It's always the one who makes that last mistake that counts. I'm expecting a lot of bar swings in this one.
Guaranteed to see some mistakes. Nobody can play perfect under these time controls and these conditions and in the format of freestyle chess, but that's what makes it exciting. Magnus Carlsen evaluating the position, spending a fair amount of his bank, reminding everybody at home you only get 2 seconds per move, and now he's the one in a deficit to Sindarov.
Wow, he moved his rook across and the white queen actually swoops back. He would have done this either way. He would have done it if the black king had moved as well. Magnus just wanted to curl up into a ball. He's done the hard work. Queen takes pawn now, will be met by the black rook jumping down and grabbing a very important white pawn. That is unthinkable. You cannot allow that, Javokhir. Or can you?
Just did it!
Oh, he's allowing a check as well. This is so scary for the white king.
Brave and gutsy, and this is forcing the bishop to retreat. That's the only move. Did he miss this check coming in?
He reacted on the camera, Javokhir. You saw him wince. He was grimacing there. He now knows that rook takes pawn. Threatens checkmate.
Oof.
Queen takes bishop is the threat.
This is over in one move. Javokhir just simply missed Magnus's queen coming in with the power play against the white king.
And there's no counterplay. The white knight could have given a check. The black king would have just moved. And here we go. He blocks instead. Magnus is a pawn up, though, and with an attack. He can force a draw if he wants.
3 seconds, though. Well, he's played that move with 2 seconds, with 1 second on the clock even.
Okay, queen's off the board. Oh, it's an endgame, though. Magnus is up a pawn. He's a huge favorite now.
Yeah, but with seconds on the clock, anything can happen. This is still not over. Javokhir on the defense. That knight on e4, centrally blocking everything, keeping things on the check so far. Trade denied.
Yeah, the knight is more important than the bishop here, so the knight has to keep itself on the board. Javokhir blocks black's extra pawn. The king is coming, though. Magnus is so good at using kings actively. He breaks the blockade. The white rook has to run away. And now the pawn advances.
The fortress cracks here. Javokhir looking for play on the other side. He's not going to find it. Magnus even sacrificing a pawn. Can you accept it? You can't. That would open up the line. Now blocked.
This is dominance, though. White's bishop is so bad. All of its own pawns are on light squares. Therefore, the white bishop is just a terrible piece. And Magnus is jumping in. He's winning another pawn.
He's coming in with all his pieces. Look at the speed with which the two are playing.
Oh, so speedy, but unfortunately for Sindarov, it's just not going to be enough. The black pawn is too strong on the edge of the board. He's going to paralyze his whole army.
Basically playing on increment, on the bonus time of 2 seconds, these two players are.
Magnus moves his bishop in, the knight goes back. Oh, Sindarov just runs out of time, though.
Wow, down to a bullet chess scenario and echoes of the initial rounds between these two players. Magnus Carlsen will get the first game in the tiebreaker, put himself back up a point above Javokhir Sindarov, heading into round number 2. Over to our other semifinal, where they're also locked in a bullet game at this point. The bar has been swinging wildly in this one.
Vincent Keymer, he was winning, but he's just blundered. He's blundered his extra piece. He had an extra bishop. He was totally winning. He's lost it. Look at the reaction. He's down now 2 pawns. Levon is winning.
In one move, from winning to lost. And that's how it went. And you could see it on him. And now he's down 2 pawns. Levon about to queen. He knows it. Look at him. He's locked in. About to lose a 3rd pawn.
Panic. The panic. He was so winning. Extra bishop. Lost in 1 move. No compensation.
Vincent is so mad at himself. He's just using this time to calm himself down right now.
There's nothing he can do. The black king is offside. The white king is advancing. The e-pawn will start moving forward now.
He almost touched 160 on that heart rate monitor Vincent Keymer did.
That's how it goes when you blunder, when you know that you're losing. He barely made that move with 1 second left. Gives a check. The White King is moving on over.
You're going to lose all the pawns in the position, but one is enough. It's that A pawn that will decide the game for Levon Aronian.
There we go. Is Annie the A-pawn going to win this game? It's going to cost Black his rook. And handshake. Levon strikes. Wow, what a turnaround.
Honestly, I feel like he's taking it well. You can see the smile on his face as he looks to the heavens, grabs his jacket. He'll have to get control of his wits, get his wits about him, if you will, going into our second round of the tie-break. 2 decisive victories, and it's both of the old guard, it's both of the veterans, Levon Aronian and Magnus Carlsen, who get the wins.
In this clash of generations, it is going to be Vincent Keymer and Javokhir Sindarov one more time. He's done it in the longer time format. Can he make a comeback in this tiebreaker? One thing's for sure, we saw the bar swings, we saw the evaluations go crazy, we saw the blunders happen. There are always opportunities in this format.
Yeah, feels like there's one wild semi-final, this one, where the eval bar is swinging up and down and left and right, and the other one, it's all been about the black pieces. Magnus winning twice with black, Sindarov winning black again. Can he do it one last time?
Yeah, reliving this tie-break, this initial tie-break, if you will. It was Vincent Keymer and Magnus Carlsen who sat together to analyze. One of them would come away with the victory, the other one would not, as it was a flurry of pieces and a wild evaluation bar on this semifinal in particular between Levon Aronian and Vincent Keymer.
And this one, could have been a completely different story. Vincent Keymer with an extra piece in an endgame. Completely winning, and all it took was a one-move blunder to mess up everything that he had created over the last 50 moves, and that was it. And Magnus Carlsen with his win, forcing Sindarov now back against the wall. Can Sindarov do it 2 times in a row today?
All right, so let's take a look at how our bracket has panned out so far. It's a 2-1 lead here for Magnus Carlsen over Sindarov, and a 2-1 lead for Aronian over Vincent Keymer. We didn't get a look at it, but Arjun Erigaisi would undo Hans Niemann in their matchup to get a lead as well, 2-1 fashion. One more game to go to see if we're going to go to Armageddon in any of these 3. But since we didn't get to see all of the Vincent Keymer game, I think we should go back, because while we got to it just before a blunder would occur from Keymer's side, that's not to forget some earlier blunders by Levon that even put him in that winning position to begin with.
Exactly. I want to start by jumping into what I'm going to call a queenless middle game, where Levon Aronian with the white pieces was totally winning. And here, he had so many good moves that I think he just struggled to pick, and he forgot about the counterplay. In this position, it is level material, but White's rooks are so dominant on the 7th rank, on the 6th rank. White's minor pieces centralized as well. And if Levon had found a move such as this knight jump, jumping forward, cutting the coordination between the rook and the bishop, he would have gone on to win. Knight takes knight, for example, he would have taken this bishop. Too much trouble here. Pieces attacked. The black king in the danger zone. Levon had a winning advantage. But check this out. He played a very natural move. He attacked the black rook, and this was a big blunder, turning things around totally because of a genius move from Vincent Keymer, pushing his f-pawn forward. That looks innocuous, but the goal is to, of course, promote, make a new queen, and suddenly there's a check opened up on the diagonal, hitting the white king, hitting the rook. This turned things around totally, and Vincent Keymer soon got a material advantage. Knight takes rook, we saw a check, and here Vincent, due to the pawn pushing, due to the knight being under fire, won a piece. But if we fast forward another 15 moves into this position, this is where the final heartbreak arose. Vincent now still with an extra piece, 2 bishops versus 1, could have won the game on the spot by retreating his bishop.
Wenn er echt